As you know, as a talk show host, I try to remain objective in my interviews and in my relationships and in my belief system. I try to remain objective. That is to say, I try not to be an advocate. However, the case of Dannion Brinkley is a little different because I have personal knowledge about Dannion, a lot of personal knowledge, maybe more than he would wish me to have, but I have seen him do things that there is totally and completely no explanation for, physical and mental. Dannion Brinkley is a gifted, I'm not even sure psychic is the right word. He is a person gifted with, although you don't want the kind of gift, I guess, the way he got the gift, burdened with knowledge about other people. And I would think it would be as much of a burden as a blessing. He has used it certainly in a blessed way and has done work with people who are dying because Dannion has died. Dannion most recently, once again, believe me when I tell you, he was as close to death as you can get without being dead and not coming back. But what I guess I want to say about Dannion is that I extend myself beyond the normal, hopefully objective manner of interview by telling you that Dannion Brinkley is the real McCoy. I repeat, Dannion Brinkley is the real McCoy. And I guess I better also tell you that Dannion Brinkley is now not on the line. Something happened to him. Anyway, I really want you to understand that Dannion is a very special person in every way that you can imagine. And if there is an authentic Dannion, an authentic person capable of the kinds of things that we have been talking about, precognition, knowledge of things that are about to come, then that, of course, is Dannion Brinkley. So what I'm going to do is reach out, and I'm going to run one more commercial so that I might get him back on the line again. So Dannion, if you would please, hang tight. We're about to call you back. I don't know what happened to the phone connection, but I'm used to this sort of thing occurring. We'll get him back on the line, and in a moment, hopefully, if everything's okay, Dannion, are you Lived by the Light, and I understand it has sold 1 million copies now, and, of course, his newest, At Peace in the Light. Here is Dannion Brinkley. Dannion.
Art.
It's so good to hear your voice sounding human.
Oh, and it's so great to be able to do it. I mean, you know, this last round has been a lesson teacher.
Dannion, I guess you have an announcement you would like to make, too.
Absolutely. The first thing I'd like to do, Art, is for everybody out there who knows me and who helped me so much through this last 4 or 5 months, I wanted to say thank you. I mean, from the bottom of my heart. Because if it hadn't been for what you were doing and thinking and the prayers and the things that really spiritually mean what happens to us, all of it came for me to look at it and see, and it once again saved my life. So for those out there, the people of the night and those who know me through art, thanks from the bottom of my heart. The other thing I'd like to tell people that if you didn't get your books because of what happened to me during this last experience and then what happened in the house, send me a postcard. Post Office Box 1919. Aiken, you have the address. Send me a postcard and let me know.
That's P.O. Box
1919, Aiken, A-I-K-E-N, South Carolina, 29802. There's about 75 or 80 people out there who don't have their books.
Okay.
And I can't find, because of when they turned all the files over and everything that happened. Someone came into my house while I was in the hospital, and they turned every file over, and my desk, they cracked them, so I have no record of I know there's 75 people out there who don't have their books.
All right. Well, I would imagine they would be listening, the majority of them, this morning. So you'll get your postcards and you'll be able to finish that up.
And I'll be so happy I won't know what to do because it's driving me crazy, Art. You know, it just drives me crazy. I wanted to get them out, and it's like closing. It's where I can close the door on that part of the saga.
All right.
Please send me a postcard, and thanks from the bottom of my heart, everybody.
All right. And you, indeed, the audience is going to hear about this latest saga, but we are now on the air in those intervening months in many more places, and there are many people who have never heard of you, so we're going to try and do the Dannion 101 early years as quick as we can, and I can help you with that. You were not such a nice guy when you were young, eh?
Oh, born a complete jerk. Raised in South Carolina. I'm 47 years old. I was born in 1950. I grew up in South Carolina. My whole early life had nothing to do with trying to understand the light or anything to do with spirituality. I was a fighter and mostly a jerk, jackass, and I thought intimidation was how you handled everything.
At one time you told me you were a killer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's that this country went through certain events that, because of what we now call the secret governments or the covert world that we lived in that came out of the 50s, that a lot of us, there's a lot of Dannion Brinkleys out there who, in what we thought defending this country, yes, sure. I mean, I grew up in the 60s and the 70s, and I was in the Marine Corps, and then after that I worked all these projects. So I'm the furthest thing from a person who looks at spirituality from any perspective.
Sure. You were an assassin. Dannion, do you think, before we move on, that there are still people doing Dannion Brinkley early kind of work for our government?
Absolutely.
Ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's under, I mean, there's a directive that's in that, I think President Bush pushed through in the NSA that, created and gave legitimacy to the fact that we have a covert army.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't know how to look for that or to see it, but it was legalized in probably 85. I mean, it's there. And there's absolutely that they're there, and absolutely that this goes on. And in virtually every major government that there is, no matter what the executive action is.
That's realistic. That's the way the real world is.
Absolutely, and yes, it's out there.
All right, so that was you early on. Pretty rough guy.
Just a, jerk.
Yeah. All right, you got out of the military.
Mm-hmm.
Said, I guess, what kind of mental state were you in when you got out of the military? Was it like, I've had enough, I'm not ever doing this again, or
no, I loved it. I mean, the military was just a short part of my life. It just was the basic part of the training of what comes contracts, where you come to a person and you have a certain compartmentalized job, and what they do is they tell you that this is what you do, they pay you this much money, and you don't know all the rest of the stuff. Some of the things were years before I knew what it was, but you just did your part. I mean, I've seen, because I'm 47 years old and I was in that 20 years ago, almost 25 years ago, I can look now and see what it was I was doing, but then I didn't know. And that's the way they do it. Look at, Eugene Hassenfuss is a typical example. I mean, the guy they shot down in Nicaragua.
Right.
His life, I have no problems with being able to identify with him, what happens to him, what went on with him, and where he got left in the whole...
They let him sort of swing slowly in the breeze.
Oh, they sold him out. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, we're like handy wipes. You use once and throw away, and if you survive, you use you again. But I loved it, Art. I mean, my life was how fast that I could move and how quick and how I would think each thing through and what my particular job was, whether it was the setup or I did the reconnaissance or I did some part in the chain by which to create the single action. And it was the jazz. They had me. I was addicted to adrenaline. And I was going through my life having a double life like a lot of us. I'm not James Bond or anybody. I'm just some jerk out there that grew up at this time and believed that power and might was represented in how tough you could be or how much you could destroy something. And the whole mindset that we're taught if like in a military point of view or a war. And you're taught this, and you get so caught up in it, you never realize how really wrong so much of it is. But that's where I was. I would have stayed there and probably been there today. I mean, I had a company and a business, and I worked in this, and it gave me access to things, and this is the world I lived in, not any of this other stuff. I thought this stuff was all crap. Then one day, I came home, I was doing my reconnaissance job, looking at infrastructure in a country, and looking at how if you blow the infrastructure, which is the first thing that you do, you destroy the transportation, electrical, water, and power, so you create civil unrest, which creates diversion and chaos, so that whatever plan you intend to execute, it's executing within the framework of what appears to be as though those people indigenous to the place are causing the problem, and either you go in to help fix it or you use that as your cover. Well, that typical plan causes children to die and people to be shot and all kinds of stuff like that, but you never think about that. So I was coming back. For the first time in my life, I saw people. Only 2 times in my whole life have I applied what I do to people that time and what happened in this third experience that I just had. But I was looking at these people and realized that they were human beings, and they were people that were farmers, and they had, the grandchildren watched out for the kids. He worked the cow or the horse and cut the ruts to put the flowers, to plant the corn, and the wife came behind him planting it, 2 kids, a grandparent, and this was supposed to be my enemy. And I was coming back thinking about it. I get home. I worked in a grocery business. There's no big deal about who Dannion Brinkley is. I worked in a grocery business with my family, and I had these 2 lives, and I was comfortable in it.
So in other words, at times, you plan the destruction of infrastructure, which of course destroys people, and that ultimately destroys governments. Sure.
We do it all the time. Big deal. I mean, that's how I looked at it then. We do it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, during the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, because of the Cold War, I mean, there was a whole world of us created and then given legitimacy around 75 or 76. Then came Iran-Contra. But before that, the NSA directive was put into place so that it gave legitimacy to it. How do you think the Iran-Contra affair occurred? I mean,
so they were actually operating with just a free hand.
They still do.
Yeah, they still do. I'm sure that's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, so that's the kind of guy you were. Then, Then one day.
No, not one day. 3 days after I got home, and when you come home from being gone, in the grocery business, there is the most frightening word that exists is called perishable. So when that word is the most terrifying word in existence, and I come home and my part in the family business has to do with produce and compressors and all that kind of stuff, and it was going out. No one cares where I've been and what I've been doing. I had to have that compressor fixed. I had an absolutely wondrous wife who, this lady had been calling on the phone that I bought an antique car. It was how I kept my mind comfortable. I would fix a car and repair it and sell it, one old car at a time. And I had bought a car from a lady that I had to tear the garage open to get it and to take the car out. And I told her I would fix the door. And the guy I paid to fix the door didn't do it. And I come home, and I'm not saying that women are tough or bad or anything like that, but I can promise you they have a stare that can melt plaster off of a wall. No question in my mind.
I know.
So I walk in the house to that glare of this lady calling her because the door wasn't fixed. I had a compressor down, and I had to get my reports written and submitted. These are my days after I come back from this living the life.
Yeah.
She was so upset, so just before dinner, so that I could at least take some of the heat off, I was going to call him so that she could hear me talking to him and ask him why it hadn't been done and to get it done.
Oh, I'd never heard all this before. Okay. So now I understand why you were on the phone.
You got it, brother.
Okay.
So I take because she's watching the news and fixing dinner, I take myself down the hall And in the bedroom, I picked the phone up and I called TM. And I mean, this is my life. And it had nothing to do with but being a guy who lived in both worlds, who watched it. And maybe that was part of why me. You know, you're always trying to figure out why me or in those kinds of situations. I picked the phone up and I'm talking to Tommy. And everybody who knows me knows what happened then. I got hit in the neck by a bolt of lightning.
This was all during a lightning storm, a severe lightning storm.
No, it wasn't there yet.
No?
I only heard the raindrops. When I heard the raindrops, I heard thunder way off in the distance, and I told Tommy, I said, Tommy, let's get off this phone. I'm not going to, you know, your mother always told you, don't talk on the phone when it's thundering and lightning.
That's right.
And what happened was, he made fun of that. He said, hey, he said, what are you, big tough guy, secret guy, and you're afraid of thunder? You know, and I'm poking my chest out like a game rooster. And
actually, let me tell you something. I know a little bit about thunderstorms, Dannion, and when the rain first begins, you are then directly under the area of electrical activity. Now, you may have heard a thunderclap in the distance, but believe me, once the rain began to fall, you were directly in the part of the storm where you could get a strike.
Great time to tell me, Art.
Well, that's the truth. That is the truth.
And listen, no crap, Sherlock.
Yeah, right.
Because at that moment, when that lightning struck me, I never knew any of this. I didn't know it.
Where did the bolt actually hit you? Do you know?
It hit me on the left side of my neck, just behind my ear.
Just behind your ear.
Mm-hmm. And it went in my ear and down my spine, welding the nails of the heels of the shoes to the floor, throwing me in the air and suspended me in the air. And from that moment on...
Your shoes... Let me get this straight. Your shoes were welded to the floor, and then you were actually apparently then blown out of your shoes?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, and what happened was that...
So your shoes were sitting there welded to the floor, you were tossed up into the air, came down on the bed, and you were on fire.
No doubt in my mind.
All right. We'll leave it right there at the bottom of the hour. That's a good place to leave it. We'll pick it up at that point. My guest is Dannion Brinkley, and what comes next, you're not going to want to miss. A number of times, every time I hear it, I hear a new detail that I somehow missed before or that you thought of.
Well, I think, Art, because we've done it, and we're so close.
Yeah.
And I'm so close to the Art Bell family, that my personal life and the things that I feel as I go through it, what I am is just as a person, I feel more comfortable with talking about it. I mean, most of the time... Yeah,
maybe that's it.
I tell a dramatic point as much as I can, but this is who I am. I'm like everybody else. There's no difference between me and anybody who's listening. I'm a person of the night. I love the Art Bell Show. I'm trying to find the answers to things at being 47 years old. And I'm where everybody who's listening to you are. Except that these things, there are certain things that happened to me that just gave me my perspective on it. I'm no different. And so I tell about what I'm going through as a person, so because it's just us.
All right. You were, here you are hit by lightning in the neck.
Here's where my saga began, Art. The real story about me. And what I believe is the point that brings a certain awareness to people is I never heard of the near-death experience. I knew nothing about the kinds of things that are talked about on your show. Mm-hmm. Nothing about it. And how I learned about it was when that bolt of lightning came down the phone line and hit me in the neck. If my shoes had not been, and I had nails in the bottoms of my shoes, Weegians, bass Weegians with the heels nailed on, not glued.
Right.
And they were over the flooring. There was a carpet, and then there was flooring that was nailed down. My shoes were sitting over those nails. When that lightning went down my spine and through my body and came out the bottoms of my feet, it welded those nails to that floor. And that's what grounded me out and kept me from exploding. They figure about 180,000 volts.
Oh, boy.
All of a sudden, I'm blown like lightning, like someone stabs me in the back like an ice pick. It throws me in the air. It suspends me in the air, and it slams me back down on the bed. It didn't drop me. It slammed me, and it bent the bed frame. And I'm on fire, and I'm burning, and it's like battery acid, and I have no consciousness except this pain. And all of a sudden, I'm in a blue-gray place. And this begins a tradition. Everybody who's heard it before and who hasn't heard it, this is a tradition now. All of a sudden, I'm in this blue-gray place and I'm comfortable. And I'm not burning and I'm safe. And I all of a sudden become aware that I'm rolling over and I see myself lying across this bed. And I had what we now call a near-death experience. And I was safe and I was comfortable and I was at peace. Like 15 million other people who's had one and been resuscitated.
Yes.
And I watched what went on. I watched my wife come down the hall and work on me. I watched Tommy come over and him help her. And I noticed these are common characteristics to me now since I've been through 3 of these in 22 years.
Somebody picked up the phone, called 911 or the equivalent of?
Yes. That was Tommy. He sent Andy to go next door to call the paramedics. And
ambulance is on the way. They're probably rolling you to put out the fire.
Well, what happened was I didn't catch on fire. It was as though I was drinking battery acid. I was burning from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And when that is occurring in the early part of it, and in the early stages, I didn't know what to think about it. I didn't know what had happened to me. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. I was dead for 28 minutes. I was completely paralyzed for 6 days and partially paralyzed for 7 months.
Dead for 28 minutes. Now,
17 and 11.
That means no heartbeat, no brain waves.
Nothing.
No breathing. None of that. Gone, flat gone. When I finally met you in person, how long ago was that when we first met, when you came to the house? That was, how long ago?
Probably 6 or 8 months.
Maybe even longer.
Yeah, a year.
Yeah, maybe a year. There's no hair on your body.
Well, I have little to no hair because when that lightning got me, it burnt most of that away.
It burned it away.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing that
it must have killed the roots, I guess, huh?
Well, it killed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It did its share of killing.
So without going drastically into your near-death experience, what you actually experienced, because we will get to that. Dannion, you ended up with a heart valve.
Oh, damn, Art, you're really moving along.
I'm moving along because I want everybody to understand why, when we get to the current event, the event that just occurred, they need to understand what you were facing. So, as a result of this lightning, something happened to your heart. What physically occurred that caused you to have to get a heart valve?
Well, from being struck by lightning twice in 1975 and then 1978, it did damage to my heart. Lightning goes through your system and it damages a lot of stuff, and it damaged my heart and my system. Every part of me got damaged, but it centered on my heart and my vascular system.
Sure.
And my nerves. And so what happened was I had a first near-death experience. And in the course of that near-death experience, I came through a tunnel, came into a place of light. I experienced beings of light. I watched my life pass before me, which is the single most important point of the whole near-death experience. I watched me not only see everything I'd ever done, I literally watched it from a second person, and then I became every person and felt the direct results of my interaction between me and those persons, which I believe is the most significant and most important part for people to look at from the near-death experience.
In other words, you are going to live your life as you affected others. You're going to feel what they felt.
No doubt about it. And how do I know this? I've had 3 of these things. I'm the veteran of 3 near-death experiences.
Yeah.
And the last one was just 3 months ago, and this is the first show I'm doing since I got up because I wanted to tell Art Bell's people, hey guys, you don't die. Now there's some really hard parts in it, But the key is how to avoid those and how to get the most out of the knowledge that comes back from the near-death experience. And that's why I wanted to come on tonight, and that's why I want to tell people that the conclusions that we'll do later on in the show and the stuff that we'll talk about, guys, where I got it from was given my life from being struck by lightning and paralyzed and learning to walk and feed myself. Second,
how long, Dannion, after the first strike were you in rehab?
God, 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, I had to learn to walk and feed myself and think again. All I had was this vision. All I had was these things that had happened to me when I was supposed to be dead that no one ever told me about, that I lived with for almost 10 months with no one to talk to about it. And I met Raymond Moody, and all of a sudden I was suspicious of him, but he began to give me a confidence that about the near-death experience, because he'd interviewed a couple of hundred people then, and I was just another case study. And we became friends, and I got to explore the near-death experience from every aspect. But I went 8 years from 1975 to 1989. I went 14 years before I had a second near-death experience, which is the heart valve that you're talking about.
Before we get to that, and I did jump ahead of that, Dannion, when you were gone, when you were dead, when you were out of your body, where were you?
Well, in the early parts of being out of my body, I was in the room. I traveled and watched my body. I watched them work on it. I watched the paramedics come. I knew all the conversation that had gone on, and I was particularly amazed by it. I was floating above it, or I was behind it, or beside my body most of the time on the way to the hospital. And then I became aware of the fact when he said he's gone, I began to move through a tunnel. And I believe that we are multidimensional beings, and I've learned so much about it. But in those early days, I didn't know where it was.
Sure.
But we live in this dimension, and at the time when our particular job and task is done, we enter a state or a transitional nature that we call death, where the body gut shuts down and frees the spiritual and ethereal body. And then you return to where you came from, and you move on to go to be to cities and crystal cities and cities of lights, or levels of consciousness where you go and look back through the information, see your relatives.
Can you remember, Dannion, can you remember during that period of time whether you had, as you and I now have it, you sound good and awake and conscious right now. You're conscious and thinking and aware of things that are around you and what's happening to you.
Right.
Were you in that state or a different state?
Well, multiply what you're describing right now by 100 billion. And that's the state you're in.
Kind of super consciousness.
More than super consciousness. You can merge with a thought. You don't have to think it. You can merge with it and re-experience it in any level, in any way you want to do it. Part of what this third near-death experience was, and what happened, what we'll talk about, is how I was able, because people from this show caring about me sent their prayers to me, that gave me a level of energy that while I was going through this near-death experience, I entered whole new different levels, whole new places I never knew existed and never thought that could exist. And although I went through a lot of pain and boring holes in my head and the stuff that we'll talk about,
yeah,
I learned that the power of collective consciousness or prayer for true reason and purpose, we can change anything. Because the levels that I could go to, whereas I've never been to them before through two other near-death experiences, I've never been through them until I got to this one. So tonight it's about, hey guys, the near-death experience is the way to start stabilizing your life. It's a way that you don't have to die or be afraid to go find out what happens, how it works, and if you can start from being dead and move back to where you are right now,
sure,
you can not only change your life in the course of your life, you can take control of that life and be able to be in a place to help other people who are not as confident or who didn't take the opportunity to go seek this information. I mean, I'm a guy, and I'm no swami or guru or anything, but I've been through 3 near-death experiences, and each one of them has a uniqueness to it, but it has a commonality to it.
Well, Dannion, I've talked to a number of people, interviewed a number of people in recent weeks who have talked to me about precognition, telekinesis, the various powers that appear to be in all of us, but only turned or in effect switched on in some very few of us. Some people believe you can develop these powers if you know how to do it. But in your case, there are some naturals out there who appear to be born with psychic abilities. There's no question about what you can do. I've seen it demonstrated. I'm a believer, and I don't frequently make a statement like that. But apparently, something happened to your brain when you were hit by lightning.
Absolutely. Art, I'm like you. Remember, I'm like you. I study things, and I'm trying to understand whether people have this ability within them. I have no doubt, because when I got struck by lightning, I never heard of it, never thought of it, and I had pretty good instincts about survival and things like that, but not like what I have now and what I've gained and grown and learned about being perceptive about things.
Well, we're told we only use about 10% of our brain.
Well, I don't even know how you measure that.
Well, they do. They measure it. We use about 10% of our brain, and a lot of people theorize, Dannion, that an event like you had opens a pathway that was not open before. We are electrical beings.
Absolutely, electrical, chemical. I believe without any question that not only is possible, and that we all possess these mechanisms to use, because it's inherent in us. I didn't gain something supernatural. This opened up by either an overload of my electrical chemical system, which did destroy my heart, so that had to have happened. And the fact that I'm not afraid of dying, because I've had a near-death experience at that point, gave me a confidence that we continue on, which really allows people to open up. When you're not afraid of dying, Art, and all of us are terrified of it, and we're taught to be controlled by this, when you're not afraid of dying and you have a way to really look at it and observe it from, which what the near-death experience gives you, if you don't have one, and then if you have 1, 2, or 3, you get in life-threatening situations. I didn't stump my toe. I got struck by lightning, number 1. Number 2, I had emergency open-heart surgery to take my heart out of my chest and put a St. Jude's aortic valve. And number 3...
let's stop there for a second. You had open-heart surgery to have a St. Jude's valve put in. What had happened? One of your valves had failed? What medically occurred?
Because of the lightning, it had weakened it.
It had weakened it.
And then I became, what happened after that, the weakness of the body, my immune system, staph infection, and I got staph infection, and it settled on the weakest part in my cardiovascular system, which was my heart, and it ate the St. Jude's valve. It ate the aortic valve. So I was drowning in my own blood. I collapsed. I mean, I write about it in Saved by the Light and in Peace in the Light. I collapsed in the emergency room. And then the next thing was open heart surgery. And that's how I had the second near-death experience and come to the conclusions that you don't die. And there is a certain very stable situation and line, not, like predestiny, but a part that we each have greater control of our lives than we've ever been given credit by any mechanism, religions, institutions, or governments. And I went through open heart surgery, and I struggled with that for a year, and then I had to learn to live with Coumadin, rat poison, and to change my whole life again.
Slow up. Coumadin, rat poison. Now, this had to do with the heart valve. In other words, once the heart valve was in you, your blood then had to be maintained at a certain
anticoagulated rate.
Thinness, right?
Right.
Thinness. They had to thin your blood.
Well, they have to put it to where it won't clot. See, your blood has clotting capabilities, and that's a lot to do with what heart disease is and heart problems, and like where a lot of Americans are, I had to experience that so that I knew how to talk about love in the heart and the body. I get really philosophical now, Art, because after this third one, there are things that I can just forget and really put into my life a focus in a place of where I don't have to wonder about it. I know after the third time that's how it works. Now, how can I best put this information out so that people can use it and grow from it in their everyday lives and not have to die 2 or 3 times like the fool I am keeps having to do?
When you returned the first time, you had psychic ability thrust upon you.
Absolutely.
And it was, I recall you saying this, and again, it reinforces what a lot of my guests have said. You said at the beginning, this psychic ability was so strong, such a burden. You heard, you could hear voices, you could hear people thinking. You knew what was going on with everybody around you to the degree that you actually had to separate yourself from people. Is that correct?
Well, absolutely. It drove me crazy. I mean, from a person that never believed any of it, never even had a framework to put it in what was going on. All of a sudden, one day I didn't believe it, the next day I was dead, and the day after it I became everything I never believed in. I not only had to relearn who I was and where I was, I had to learn about this kind of stuff and find a way to believe in it because it was happening to me, but with not all this fakery, the stuff that exists out in the world that people have a awareness that there is spirituality and psychic ability, but it's shrouded in so much garbage. I had to learn all that stuff. So all of us are capable of being able to do this.
So it was like a cacophony of noise. I mean, overwhelming for you then.
Well, the first was people's emotions. The first thing you feel is the emotion. And from that emotion, I would see movies. Okay, now it's like a movie. I will see a picture, and then I just interpret what I see like going to the movies and seeing a preview of a movie. Those 5 or 6 things they show before the feature. I will see those. In those early days, I would literally be the person. I remember when these nurses were pushing me down in this tub of this whirlpool when I was paralyzed to try to find a way to get my motor senses for I could feel this hot water and moving around me, trying to find a way that I could move during the therapy. And I could hear everything all the nurses at once were doing and thinking. And these are 4 ladies, completely different, and I could hear it. I could touch people when they would touch me, and thank God that's reduced. You know, people say, I'm happy that as I got better and reacclimated myself back into this structure of reality, it reduced. It didn't, it's gotten less instead of, I couldn't have stood it if it was anymore.
Sure. So whatever it was that opened that pathway slowly as you healed, it began to close up, and even though you still have obvious, verifiable abilities today, they're not what they were then, not that overwhelming.
Thank God.
Thanking the right person.
But, hey, there's a lot more to this story.
I know. Boy, is there ever. All right, hold tight, Dannion. We're at the top of the... And this night, I am telling you things that I don't tell you other nights about other guests. Very, very rarely do I do this. Dannion Brinkley is here, and he's the real McCoy. That comes not from hearsay. That comes from personal experience. He's the real McCoy. Dannion was struck by lightning. We've told that story and tried to move through it as quickly as we could. And then again struck by lightning in 1978 and had a heart attack, had a heart valve put in his heart. While he was gone, many things were, and when I say gone, I mean gone, dead for 28 minutes. Heart, brainwave, breathing, all gone. And he was gone. He'll talk about a bit about what he saw and more, and we'll bring you up to date with Dannion in a moment.
Bell.
Yes, sir. All right.
Still standing.
Dannion, so you had a heart valve put in. Then you had to start taking this horrid little stuff called Coumadin, which is basically rat poison.
Well, it does 2 things, Art. It keeps me alive, and it'll probably be what kills me. So, that's part of things that you really look at in your life. Here is the thing that keeps me alive, and yet because of its corpse as a drug in your system that you must take for the rest of your life.
Once that heart valve's in, you take it or you die.
That's it. I mean, or lie in a bed with an IV in my arm and stay like that, push around one of those stroller things with an IV of heparin or sodium heparin or some other type of anticoagulant or thinner.
You have to do that fairly frequently anyway, don't you? You have one of those little things you wheel around with an IV on it.
Yeah. I go through that.
So some of the people close to me have told me some of the most bizarre stories about you and that IV.
You're so funny.
Anyway, so that is basically your condition since 1978.
Did they tell you the one about the one in the airport and Delta Airlines in Chicago?
No. What happened?
I had to carry these. I don't know how you got off on that, Art, but I had to use IVs and have to put in things like vancomycin that are antibiotics that are so powerful, and I would have to travel, and because I kept pushing myself, which was what got me what I just got.
Yeah.
I kept pushing myself. I would carry these bags, these 1 liter bags of vancomycin, and I had to go in the bathroom because I had to put an IV in, and I had to take this by measurement. You're supposed to do it by a machine, but I'd use a stopwatch and work it off till I got the drip right, and then I would count the drips with the stopwatches, and I would hang those bags everywhere. Well, I knew I needed to get it in, so I put an IV in both arms and hung the bags up in the bathroom, and we had to come to land, and the little flight attendant was knocking on the door, and I opened it with a IV in each arm with these bags hanging off of
Oh, my God.
And she, I mean, the face was unbelievable. And she just closed the door and went and sat down. And I had to finish it, and I clicked them off, and then I went out and explained it to her, but that face, and then she just quietly and politely closed the door.
Oh, God.
So, yeah.
And I've heard stories of you tearing around the house, very driven, trying to get things done with this thing trailing behind you.
Oh, it used to be so aggravating.
Yeah.
I would pull it down the street, and because I have to do my stuff. When you have a near-death experience, Art, the first one is to this day the most amazing one to me, because I brought back from it stuff that has now become the future. Not only the perceptive nature, which is where you think you see the future, I see mostly the present of where that person is, or what caused that person or that particular event to occur, are the two things I normally see. Because I focus on hospice work, and I try to train these techniques in the CIA, in the foundation that I have called Compassion in Action, which you know everything about the
Yes.
hospice work. We will train people to be able to be perceptive.
Basically, once you've died, you can explain to somebody what they are about to go through. Yeah.
And share the joy about what it's about. Having 3 near-death experiences under really horrendous conditions and a lot of physical and mental anguish and pain, I guess is the only way I've chosen to grow. I mean, you have to hit me that hard. But everything I know about the spiritual nature of us and that we don't die, just like you were there this last time, I pay dearly to know what I tell people. And I'm not trying to make myself any more important than anybody, but whew.
Dannion, do you remember just before we went, actually I have one other question first. Do you have a website address?
No.
You don't?
I'm going to move into the high-tech age after this last episode, but Art, I have lived here for 22 years looking at something that happened that started 22 years ago, that went through 2 near-death experiences. It went through another surgery where nothing happened. It went through all the way to September the 17th at 7:05 a.m., and the surgery was at 12 o'clock, to the damn same day, the same minute, the same place.
Now, you're talking about this last September 17th.
Yeah, or a Wednesday in a thunderstorm.
All right. Well, we're going to get way ahead of ourselves.
There's some really good stuff, though, everybody.
Yeah, I know it's coming.
Good stuff to tell them.
I read you a little something before we went on the air tonight, Dannion.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that's from
At Peace.
At Peace in the Light. And I want to read that, so just relax for a second, all right? And we'll find out if this is accurate. This was sent to me on the internet. It's entitled The Final Visions of Dannion Brinkley. At the very end came a 13th vision. I don't know where it came from. I didn't see a being of light bring it forward in a box, nor did I see one take it away. The vision was in many ways the most important of all because it summed up everything I had seen in the 12 boxes. Through telepathy, I could hear a being say, if you follow what you have been taught and keep living the same way you have lived the last 30 years, all of this will surely be upon you. If you change, you can avoid the coming war. Scenes from a horrible world war accompanied this message. Scenes from World War III came to life before me. I was in 100 places at once, from deserts to forests, and saw a world filled with fighting and chaos. Somehow, it was clear that this was the final war, an Armageddon, if you will. It was caused by fear. In one of the most puzzling visions of all, I saw an army of women in black robes and veils marching through a European city. Quote, the fear these people are feeling is an unnecessary one, said the being of light, but it is a fear so great that humans will give up all freedoms in the name of safety. I also saw scenes that were not of war, including many visions of natural disasters in parts of the world that had once been fertile, with wheat. I saw parched deserts with furrowed fields that farmers had given up on. In other parts of the world, torrential rainstorms had gouged out the earth, eating away topsoil, and creating rivers of thick, dark mud. People were starving in this vision. They were begging for food on the streets, holding out bowls and cups, and even their hands in hopes that somebody or something would offer them a scrap to eat. In some of the pictures, people had given up or were too weak to beg and were curled on the ground waiting for the gift of death. I saw civil wars breaking out in Central and South America and the rise of socialist governments in all of these countries before the year 2000. As these wars intensified, millions of refugees streamed across the U.S. border, looking for a new life in North America. Nothing we did could stop the immigrants. They were driven by fear of death and loss of confidence in God. I saw millions of people streaming north out of El Salvador and Nicaragua, and more millions crossing the Rio Grande into Texas. There were so many of them that we had to line the border with troops and force them back across the river. The Mexican economy was broken by these refugees and collapsed under the strain. Is that accurate, Dannion?
And 21 years old, you're reading something, Art, and someone who's just done this, I mean, they've written it better than I wrote it in the book, whoever sent this to you, but you are reading a statement that is literally 22 years old. Oh, and I can, as you go through each, this vision was for me to grow. I had separated from my heart and my mind. It was for me to grow. And what I never anticipated, because I'm always trying to figure this stuff out because it's happening to me, I never anticipated so many people to come to my aid, so much love to come to my aid. I never could even think that.
Let's talk about how this began, this latest thing. What happened, Dannion, and when?
Wait, let's finish that art. Can we finish what you were reading from?
Oh, well, of course, that's the end of what I have here. But yes, absolutely, go right ahead.
Well, it goes on to give us each of those statements at what you're reading now, the women's army. This is something that's 22 years old.
I understand.
On the front cover of Time magazine about 3 months ago, it had a woman's army of Iranian women training in Iraq to attack Iran.
Yep.
And these women were dressed in black, Islamic, and they were going to go fight the Iranian government for the rights because of what the Afghanistans are going through right now and what's happening to women there.
I saw an army of women in black robes and veils marching through a European city.
They were on the cover. Who they are was on the cover of Time magazine, and now they will walk toward the Balkans. This is as I watch it, this next place that'll happen is what's happening in the Balkans and what's happening there right now in Sarajevo and all of that. That's gone nowhere. It's festering. It's a battle of religions. And as each discovers more and more about what's going on in these trials, then there's the next trouble spot. And
of course. The moment we leave Dannion, they're going to be back at the killing each other.
And they've been doing it 1,000 years, but now those ladies are Muslim, and they will go fight for their sisters. And that's a European city. 22 years ago, when this vision came in the first near-death experience, I didn't have any idea what most of this stuff was, but I could remember it because it would go over and over in my mind till it drive me crazy. So I started putting them down.
Sure.
And I would write what I would see as the vision. This is while I was in the near-death experience. And after it was over, because I'd just lie there, I could float back to it and keep remembering. Well, I'll make people a layout of where we go to about 2004, because that's as long as I figured I would be here, because I don't exist in it. Everything else, I have a way to not only see it, but discover how I fit into it or where I am in it.
So you think you know when you're going to die?
Oh, sure. I mean, they give me pretty much, I pretty much go through a lot of stuff knowing what it's all about. And, sometimes I push myself too far, and other times because I want to achieve what I want to achieve based on knowing I don't die and knowing I've had my panoramic life reviews and that I am, without any question, you do not die. It does not happen, and anybody who tells you that it does is a liar. It just doesn't happen. And so then to get that in the minds of everybody in my age group and a little older than me and maybe a little younger, but I just talk to my age group because they're looking the same as I'm looking. And as I watched all this stuff happen, I have used it as a guideline for something that I saw when I was dead. Nothing you were reading is newer than 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But it's come true all the way down to the chip. When I said this in 1975 and 76 and 77 and 78, like everybody around me, I listen to my dad, he makes faces at me because I'm like a broken record. He's been hearing it for, so many years. And this chip technology and how the brain would grow on a chip and the chip would be implanted and encode your information in it, and they could control your moods and, not they, but the system put it in place, and
it's all coming true.
Yeah, I have copies of the reports on it. I
know.
But this 22 years ago.
I know. And so it was written by you then. So nobody can contest that.
Oh, couldn't, there's no chance.
No, that's what's
there's 1,000 people and more scraps of paper and the dates and what I pile that stuff in all those boxes.
Dannion, that was so severe, what I read. Is there anything that has occurred between then and now that has caused you to change your mind about the ultimate prophecies?
Yes.
Okay.
And I knew it would come. When I went through this last experience, and I don't want to get there quite yet, but when I went through this last experience, I discovered something. I discovered something about myself, and I discovered something about the whole framework of what I'm trying to do and what we're all trying to do, but also a way to achieve it faster. There's some really good stuff. And I'm still growing in it, Art. I study it and think about it every day, because we talk so much and we're close friends. Well, I'm close friends with everybody who's listening. I'm just 47 years old and out here and growing in it. But when you don't die, you got to find something to do with your time.
Sure.
And I think people who listen to Art Bell are doing that. That's what I think. And so when you hit this place where you're growing, and it's because you're in immense pain and they're drilling holes in your head and, having seizures, but the seizure had its place too. I mean, it taught me, and what I learned from it and how to look at myself is the most important aspects of what it is about. But how I kept myself sane when I wanted it to go away through these 22 years, what the visions were, what I was told to do, the centers, hospice work, all these things I said for those years, I have done them. And it's witnessed, you talk to the people. But this last time, I'm growing. Give me back a freedom that I didn't think I had. And they drill that hole on the exact same time and date. And what does that tell me? I mean, what would it tell me if it wasn't happening to me?
All right. Well, in a sense, you're jumping ahead now. So let us tell them the beginning of what happened to you. In other words, this most recent event. Don't go right to the 17th and the day of surgery, because I was there then. When did it begin? What happened?
Well, it began probably in 1989, but
well, I mean the specific medical downturn that resulted in the surgery. What day did that begin? Do you recall?
Oh, it probably began in June.
In June.
Mm-hmm.
How do you figure it began?
Well, I could tell that something was changing, something was happening to me, and we still don't know what it is yet, and what causes the Coumadin levels to shift and change, and Coumadin reacts to everything that you take. And no matter what it is, from an aspirin to the food that you eat, it's a good drug for what it does, but it's very finicky.
It comes with a price.
Oh, absolutely.
Big price.
It kills you.
All right, Dannion, it kills you ultimately. That's right. All right, hold on, Dannion.
In South Carolina.
I'm sorry about that. I'm always trying to put you in Georgia.
I know.
Dannion, I want to get the chronology of this right. You think it began about in June, huh?
Yeah. I could tell that something was happening, but, I regulated Coumadin is not evil, Art. It's just that it is a peculiar, and the fact that I don't just sit down every day, and stay in one place and
sure,
just become worthless. I have to move, and I have to take care of things like I think, so I'm partly responsible for what it does. But there are things that happen because of Coumadin, and whatever it is unique about me, which I'm learning is about being struck by lightning, which they have a new...
You've got to test your blood, I think, how frequently, and check for the levels of Coumadin.
Oh, every couple of days.
Every couple of days, all right.
Every couple of days, because it's gone up. It's gone up back and forth, and I've looked at everything in their study, and I have good doctors looking at it, but here I am. I'm in California, had a lecture to do and to talk about the CIA, which is Compassion in Action, the foundation that I set up, and with a lot of help from a lot of people, and to lay it out, because I know that where we're about to go in the future, what the next 6 or 8 years are about, based on that so far the stuff that I saw in the vision has been true, so I'm going to accept the fact that the rest of it is, and how to affect and change that.
All right, so you were in California.
And I felt weak, really, really weak, like I was going to pass out, but after heart attack and strokes and being struck by lightning, you just kind of overlook that kind of stuff. Like my cardiologist asked me, he said, how in the world did you stand the pain when I think I had a stroke or something like that, and it was so painful? I told him that when I fell and hit my head against the wall, it took my mind off of it. So I have to go through that kind of stuff all the time. And so I was at the Veterans Hospital, which is where I want to establish programs for veterans, because there's somebody I feel that I don't want anybody dying alone in this country. And that, the people who know me know that's what I care about. That's what I focus on. And I use every talent and every thought and everything I have to focus on that, because I can grow the fastest from it, based on that you have a panoramic life review and what I've learned through 3 near-death experiences. And you can grow the fastest. Sometimes I push it.
You push it a lot.
Hey.
I know you do.
Hey.
All right, anyway, listen, let's stick with the chronology here, all right? So
I got on an airplane.
Yeah.
When I got on that airplane to fly home, and I had 2 days at home, and I was making sure I was trying to get Art Bell books out, and keeping in my mind all the responsibilities that, you try to piece together. And I'm trying to create a mind shift in people born between 1940 and 1964 as they face losing their moms and dads. That mind perspective, that paradigm shift is to search for your spirituality so that you can deal with something that is now in your life. The loss of your mom and dad and brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles, and how to take that and let it be a spiritual growth place, understanding the near-death experience. And I try to do that through CIA and practical application.
I know you do. Stick with the story.
All right, don't hurt me.
Stick with the story.
Don't hurt me. And so I fly home, and I had a cerebral subdural hematoma. That means a blood vessel blew in my brain. And then when that blood vessel blew in my brain, I thought somebody had driven an ice pick into my head.
Where were you when that happened?
I was at 35,000 feet.
Oh, God. So I didn't know that occurred in the airplane.
35,000 feet, and I thought, Art, if I could get off that airplane, the pain at 35 in a pressurized cabin, I did not know that there was pain like that could exist on the face of this earth. And I've been through a lot of pain, Art. I know about pain. Nothing is like it. And you can't see, and your head hurts so bad you want to shoot yourself.
Did you remain conscious?
I think I did. I just held on. And I didn't know what it was, and I got down, and it released a little bit when I landed in Atlanta, and I didn't want to get on that plane to save my life to fly to Augusta, but I had to do it, because if I didn't do something about whatever this was, I couldn't stand it. So I get home, and I can stand up. By the time I get to my house, I could stand up, 4 minutes, and then I'd just drop and black out. And the pain would be so severe. And so I was trying to figure out either I knew something, I either had an aneurysm or a hematoma or a tumor has just locked in. And I knew it was one of those three things. And then I knew it was something, I'd blown blood vessel. So I go to I call the doctor, and he says, go get your PTs. And I go up and get my...
No, wait a minute. PTs, everybody doesn't know what you're talking about. Your PTs are that's the count you do, right?
Yeah, the PT is a blood test.
Right.
And it determines how fast per second your blood will clot. And then it has called the IRN, which I don't really know what it stands for, but it's the line measure that you use based on the content of the blood.
All right, so you got that test. You went and got the test.
And it was... When I got home, I couldn't stand up, and I was talking to my dad, and because I was supposed to go to San Francisco for another program, and I was talking to my dad, and I couldn't stand up when I got back, and I couldn't focus, and I began to have chest pains, and my head was hurting. And when the doctor called me straight back, and he said, "You're as good as dead."
Yeah, I know. I talked to the doctor. Actually, I was involved for several days. I mean, they admitted you to the hospital with a diagnosis of an aneurysm at that point, didn't they?
All right.
They said it was, in other words, you had burst a blood vessel in your brain. You were bleeding. There was pressure building. I recall talking to your doctor. In other words, the blood... You were just bleeding in the brain, and the blood was beginning to put pressure on your brain.
Well, on my way to the hospital, I blew a second one, remember?
Yeah.
Remember, I'd blown that first one coming in from San Francisco, and I couldn't take it. And then on the way to Charleston, I put myself in those trances that I've learned to find when that much pain, and I blew another one when I got by the time I got to the hospital. So I had blood filling up the whole right side of my head and just crushing my brain. And there is no pain like the brain. I never realized that it floats in that liquid, and in between each layer of it, there is a liquid, and it stays stabilized in its equilibrium. And I just never, because my head's so hard in a lot of psychological and a lot of physiological ways, that I never thought about it. But I was in so much pain when they got me to the emergency room. I had a prothymic count of like 45, which is, there is no coagulation, and it's so thin.
It's like water.
Yeah.
It's like water.
It's not creating enough pressure to pump through it. And since I had an open heart surgery, the biggest problem that they were worried about is when you have this, your brain clots, and when your brain clots, those clots move through the bloodstream, and if they get into my valve, it kills me right off the bat. I'm dead. So how many clots are forming in my brain from these hematomas, and how much pressure? And then
the real rock in the hard place. In other words, here you are bleeding to death in your own brain, and they're having to clot it. They're having to stop that bleeding, and the very stopping of the bleeding is causing clots.
And
according to your doctor,
the fact that the way you stop bleeding is clotting the blood, which is what you can't do to mine because I have a mechanical heart valve.
Right.
So I'm in the emergency room, and they're having a really, what do? Do you crack his skull open? And, these are the choices. Crack his skull open and peel it back at the same time. Crack his chest open and to massage his heart or to block clots, or put a laser in to block the clots.
Actually, your doctor at that point was telling me that he was going to open your chest and open it to your heart, and then open your head, drain your head, watch for the clots to pass, and when they did and they stopped your heart, he would have your heart there immediately available to try and move these clots through it manually.
Yep.
That was what you were facing.
Yeah, that's, and what would happen if we did that? I would die. I mean, you're not going to crack a guy's chest open and massage his heart and cut his skull away and drain off blood, putting the pressure on it, and then try to cauterize those other things. And who knows what that was, because at 45, and I was in deep trouble. I mean, that they didn't know what to do. You couldn't.
So I was calling you. I remember I was calling you like every day and trying to talk to you when you were conscious. And I kept asking, "Do you want me to come?" And you kept saying, "No, no." A few days, no. And then you said, "Well, maybe."
I knew where I was, Art. I mean, I was lying there in some more pain than I thought that was possible. They're telling me that my brain is blowing blood vessels, not that it had.
Yeah.
It's blowing them.
Yeah.
Because I blew those two, and my brain was just pouring blood. They couldn't stop the bleeding because it would cause coagulation, which would cause clotting, which would kill me in my heart. And they were dumping heparin in me and all kinds of thinners in me, and that was holding me on. But the pain of the brain and what was going on, I couldn't handle it.
Well, I'll tell you now, because I can tell you now, and I really haven't. I was talking to people, of course, all around you. I won't name them. You know who they are. And those people told me that you weren't going to make it, Dannion.
I don't think it was, Art.
That was a critical day. You know the people I'm talking about. And
my dad, all my relatives, my brothers, my sisters, my closest friends.
I really wasn't going to.
Well, I don't mind telling them. We were all there.
I was talking to all those people, including the doctor and the nurses, and everybody was of the same opinion. Your chances were pretty near zero. And that was the day you called me and said, "Well, Art, you better come on over."
Yeah, I guess. Art, let's don't be sad about it. I said, "Well, Art, you and Ramona better come on over, because I don't think I'm going to make it through this one."
Yeah, time to go.
I thought I was happy about it because I couldn't stand it another day. I had to have the surgery, which would all of a sudden start this chain of action of events. And if something went wrong during the surgery, having to crack my chest open. So I called my dad, and I got my closest friends, the people that have been with me and helped me for years and struggle with me as I've gone through these near-death experiences. And I've tried to do what I believe was right in the course of what I saw. And here I was again, being the people I'm trying most to help. I was on a ward of cardio neuro problems.
Yeah.
And this is where you're either in emergency and intensive care, which I spent about 16 days in there. And then in this place where people were the despair was so enormous, and I didn't have despair. I just dealt with the pain. And as you were there, it was more pain than I could handle, but I can handle it because I'm not afraid of dying. We don't die. and I knew we didn't. And I was thinking in my mind, here I go again. But this time the odds are stacked too much for me to survive it. So
you and I talked about opening up your chest.
Yeah, and we concluded very quickly we weren't going to do it.
I said, Dannion, I don't think you're going to make it through that.
Yep.
Too much trauma. I mean, the risk is obviously the clots let go and they can't get to your heart in time and you're gone. And it's a tough choice to make, but I advised you. You thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't let them open your chest.
I would be dead now.
So the critical moment came. The doctor said, all right, we'll try it. We're going to drill some holes in his head. We're going to relieve the pressure. We're going to try to relieve the pressure and hope the clots don't let go.
Yeah, we'll put shunts in there. Remember, they put those shunts in there so it would drain.
Yeah, we've got pictures. That's what I said on the website. People want to go up there right now. Just it's the first item, Dannion's photographs in the gallery. Click on that and scroll down, and then click on the photographs, and you'll see actually the bags with the blood that was coming from these shunts that were put in his head. And
these are true stories, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
These three stories that we're telling, I write about in Saved by the Light and At Peace in the Light, and what I'm trying to do with the CIA and what I care about the people on Art Bell. These are true stories. Happens to a guy not from India. Happens to a guy from South Carolina who you're talking to this morning. What we're talking about is who we all are, Art. What's happening to me doesn't make me unique. Somehow, I'm stupid enough to put myself in a place where I have to learn it the hard way. And second, I have ability to remember what happened to me.
When I remember telling you and talking to you the night we virtually said goodbye, it was the night before the operation. I remember telling you, Dannion, you know, cosmically, we're all here for just a little blink anyway. And if I'm here for another 20 or 30 years and you go tomorrow morning, we're going to be seeing each other real quick anyhow.
Absolutely, Art. And you know, I think that's what we're talking about to everybody tonight. Hey, everybody, it doesn't happen. And here comes the holidays, and here comes your New Year's resolutions, and here comes thinking back through your life as you do the Yuletide and Old Lang Syne. Well, Old Lang Syne this. Let this radio show and let this part that we're doing now be a part where your New Year's resolution is to explore the fact that you do not die and stabilize the fact that you are a mighty and powerful spiritual being and that you have the ability to move in multi-levels of consciousness over on the other side. But I also discovered that you live and function in multi-consciousnesses right now. And resolve yourself that be your New Year's resolution. And then I'll give the number to the CIA and call them to give you some information and start really working on the use of what Art and I are talking about. That's what I wish for everybody in this and the new year. And thanks for letting me get that.
I remember that you were in so much pain that you told me one of two things has to happen now. Either I have to die or this pressure has to be relieved. There was no middle ground.
I was making the decision on the surgery. You and I was glad that you were there. My dad, because I'd given him all the powers of attorney and everything. I mean, this was a real...
all the final papers are getting made out. Sure.
Yeah, I had to do it all, and what to do with my life and my little stuff I have and what I'd hope for, the centers and fulfilling my visions and my work and all that stuff. You were there. It's like, it was really happening. It's not a dime novel. And it was good to have you there because you drew from the experience of everybody you have, and you drew from a good friend, Art Bell, just like Ramona. Ramona and being there helped me a lot.
All I could think of was to have people pray for you. And Dannion, you and I, we may be a little different because I haven't been where you've been. I haven't died. I haven't seen all of this, and I must tell you, Dannion, I have this hard-headed, idiotic things that I haven't experienced, I haven't touched, I can't prove, I can't know for 100%, with 100% surety. I don't know these things that you know. But I believe that there is power in prayer. There is actually power in prayer. Scientists are now proving it. They're doing studies.
Absolutely no doubt. What I discovered, more than, anything that came from the near-death experience, yes, as we sat there that night, Art, and we talked it through as friends, because we've become good friends. And you saw what I was going through. I could not handle it. I could not take it anymore. It was too much. And I had to face that surgery and face my heart and face those levels and what any of them, 15 factors could kill me. And it could get worse. And then the next morning, when we hugged and I had my family and my people I care about and who've helped me around me. And, I usually stay by myself when I'm that sick. I don't let people come around me.
Oh, that is for sure. In fact, we'll tell them more about it. Dannion, hold on for a second. We're coming toward the top of the hour. Rest a little bit. This is something that I played during those times because I didn't think Dannion was going to make it. I really didn't. But there was prayer. There was hope that things would get better. And what we're talking about now is one of the highlights, lowlights of the year, however you want to look at it. Dannion knows a great deal more that has occurred to me during this year. At any rate, there he was in intensive care, not conscious, and then you began to go through convulsions, and there's a big story to be told here, Dannion, that you haven't even really told me about the time, this time when you were in the netherworld again.
And I'm still processing it too, Art. Remember that. We're only talking about September the 17th.
Yeah, that was an interesting date, the date of the operation when the doctors finally decided they were going to do their thing. September 17th. What is the interesting aspect of that date?
September the 17th, on a Wednesday afternoon at 7:05 p.m., I was struck by lightning. On September the 17th, on Wednesday afternoon, 22 years later, I had brain surgery, and at the exact spot on the left-hand side of my head where the lightning went in and went through my body, they drilled a hole in my skull and hooked a drain to it. And in my front temple, they drilled another hole. I don't honestly understand all of what it means, Art. I had everybody do charts and stuff, and it's some pretty remarkable stuff. You got a copy of that transparent, of that astrological that refers to it. I think that what it really means to me is that there was a real orderly fashion in the completion of a period or an era, and that symbolized it, that on the right-hand side it was released, because it made me change it, if it's true, what shall we do, the book that I'm writing. It changed everything about it, like literally threw the book out of the window and put a whole new place in, because just before I went into this surgery, for those early days, when we first started talking and people started praying for me, at night, during these shows, at night, the pressure would release. It wouldn't be as intense, and I was noticing it. I didn't know everybody was praying for me, Art. I was lying in that bed where you knew I was and had been there for 25 days and 16 days in intensive care, and enough needles, and hadn't slept, and the pain was so horrendous, and my brain, and I couldn't see, and I would listen to Stephen Halpern music for 10 hours a day. And I would wear those earplugs and stay inside and fight it, because I was drifting in levels of consciousness.
You're the only person I know who can heal. Well, you really are the only person I know who can heal himself, and he does that for hours and hours and hours on end. He somehow, can you explain it? You go inside yourself. You've got hemorrhaging in your brain, and you leave yourself. And how? Is there a way you can put to words the process you do to go to work on yourself?
Well, I'm working on, see, I've never ever thought about teaching it, Art, until now. I mean, so I move inward, I pace my breath, and I shut off so that I'm only hearing my breath move in and out of my body, like my body's a hollow vessel. When you listen to your breath with your fingers in your ears, or you put a way that you can listen to breathing like shielding, I use eye pillows and things. When you start to breathe in and out in the hollowness, like breathing all the way to your toes and breathing all the way out, as you hear the hollowness of the body in the breath, at least it sounds like that. And then I begin a system where I set a value. I can't deal with the pain. And I learned it in the first near-death experience because being electrocuted is more painful. I thought it was the most painful thing I'd ever experienced until this last one. So they call it line in state and stuff like that. And I take music therapy, aromatherapy, and color therapy. And I activate my spiritual senses, the auric senses that we have. And I never knew anybody had one of these until I was floating above myself, watching Tommy and Sandy 22 years before work on me. And they had these beautiful, colorful rays around them. They had energy bodies. And I was always wondering why I didn't have one as they were working on me, but that's the me that's here now. That's the spiritual part.
Is there, though, a way you can, in other words, you had a specific terrible thing that was occurring to you. You were bleeding in your brain. Do you actually visualize what's occurring in your brain and go to work on that mentally?
Yeah, once I'm out of the body. See, once I get out of the body, then it can heal itself because I'm not in there thinking so much. I don't have that mind-brain system working to, like, stress is caused by how you think and what you're eating. And once you move outside of the body, it begins an automatic system of drawing from the spiritual realm, from the nutrition in your body, and from the thoughts. And what I do is focus on the whole self.
Because I know there were long periods of time that you wouldn't let anybody near, and you just did that. You were just inside yourself. The nurses said it, your family said it, the doctor said it.
10 hours a day.
10 hours a day, yeah.
And then 6 hours with earplugs. And that's how I went for 28 days. We are spiritual beings, Art. And there are ways at which to move totally outside of it that are not marvels or miracles to me. It's preservation that caused me to develop the intuitive natures, the natures to move outside of the body, the natures to perceive and feel where other people are. These things are possible for everybody to learn how to do it, and I wouldn't say it if that wasn't true. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. Trust me on it. And they don't have to die to do it. They just have to follow the system, and it's the value. The real reason, and I learned this from the Panoramic Life Review in the near-death experience, the real reason is the why you do what you do, not what you do, but why you do it that begins a measure of you and your focal point in this world. And being able to clarify those allows you to open up and access those other levels.
What can you tell us of the spiritual time that did occur during this last experience?
Well, wait to watch in this surgery. I was experiencing these levels and I was writing them down. When I got through all of this, I could match when your prayer groups and the Unity Church and the people's organizations all over the world that were praying to keep me alive. And I never realized that I had worked so hard for so many years, Art, to bring these visions and this work that I write about in Saved and at Peace to fruition. And I'd worked so hard, and I had lost where my mind connected to my heart, and I began to think too much about how I had to get it done, because we are now in that time that they talk about. A whole new revolution of thought will come this year. I mean, it will come.
Something's pending.
Yeah, well, you and I are part of trying to help bring it out in the cruise with visions. There lies a secret and a part of so much connected with everything, from China to the Yucatan, to Egypt, to the mounds in America, everything about the pyramids. And, that's important. This will happen this year. These things, we will begin to change with no matter what, with what we will learn in the next year and a half. about ourselves, about where we came from, what our true origins are, but it doesn't change our spiritual self and how to stabilize that. And this is coming. And so when I had this, when he put me under, when they took me in the room, and I was talking to Mike, my surgeon, who is a friend, and you were there, and he put me in, and everybody was worried about it. The cardiologists were there. Everybody was worried about it because how do you come through it if something happens and you break my skull open and you split my chest open? And I told them not to do it, but, they weren't going to listen to that too much. And then they drilled these holes they put me this anesthesia, and they drilled these holes in my head. And at the moment when they roll my head over, I'm out of my body. I'm there. I'm watching it again. I'm listening to them talk, and they were really good and really efficient. And I was watching this guy who was helping Mike do the surgery, how efficient he was at moving my head and rolling my shoulder, and how organized they were, and how really well they were doing it, and the two other assistants. And I'm watching it. But I'm in a level of consciousness that I am not like I'm far away like the first two. I'm here, and I'm not traveling far. Mm-hmm. Okay? Then as he drills this second hole, I begin to move into places where I moved through the tunnel, but I became the light when the tunnel came to the end. Instead of going to a light, it was like I was lighting it up. I was comfortable with the place, but it had a warmness and a gentleness to it, but it wasn't like I was going to be there. It wasn't like the first two times when, I was going to be there. And I didn't move deep into it. It wasn't a deep experience. I saw the beings in a distance. And then I'm back, and I'm in the recovery room.
Yeah, I remember, Dannion, some things. I remember when you were not really conscious, and I was next to your bed with some others, one or two others, I think, with Ramona and one other person, and you were talking about masters, and you were talking about people in white robes.
Yeah, they were everywhere. They didn't come back again. See, there they were, like whole legions. And I'm watching it, and it was as though there was a certain amount of accomplishment or a certain amount of pride, and there was a certain distance traveled, and as I'm glimpsing a panorama of the things that some of them I recognized, but a lot of them I didn't, that had occurred. And it was as though it was a brief moment of a celebration, kind of, I'd hate to say, I don't know how to describe it yet, Art. I don't know how to describe it because I don't remember seeing you on any level.
I'm sure you don't. Oh, you weren't conscious.
Okay, well, that doesn't mean I wasn't conscious. Listen, in near-death experiences, you are conscious.
Not in the sense, yeah, I understand. No, but believe me, look, folks, trust me, go up to my website and look at those photographs. During that period of time, he was not conscious, period. But you were
describing what I was seeing.
You were,
that's great. See, I didn't know that, Art. Thanks. I mean, these things, because I'm aware of what was happening with me, not what people were seeing. And that was going on the whole time, and it wasn't like a normal near-death experience. It was like a gathering of some kind.
Yeah.
And like it was, we had assembled and we had taken a look at the distance traveled and where we stood and, what had to get done and what would be the next part. And I'm trying to write that down. I mean, I'll bring that out. I'll be able to tell it in you have to find words to piece that together because it's taken me years to find the language. And I know a lot of what it is. Does that make sense?
It does. I think you'll break it down when you get to having to actually write about it.
It's 2 months ago.
Yep.
It's not 1,000,000 years ago. It's 2 months ago. But here's what was the neatest thing. When I came back into recovery, and after recovery, and I looked at all this, I was thinking about, okay, is this hallucination? And I'm like everybody else. I'm like you aren't, regardless. There are things that happen in the brain and chemistry and things that happen, but I've been through so much, I know how to set a standard so I can watch it. As I'm watching this, I know it's not a hallucination. And as I come back and I recover and I'm in the room, I could see a blue and silver light in the room, and then it would turn golden. And it wasn't some great dark color, but I could see it in the room. And I would think about it and look at it from different perspectives because the pain would reduce. And as I would relax and bathe in it each night, as I would bathe in it, I would become aware that there was more than one of me, multidimensional, that there is more than one of me functioning on different levels of consciousness as actively as I'm functioning here. And I kept trying to figure out, how could this happen? The people's prayers are, while I was recovering and going through near-death experiences and always, having a near-death experience and then going through what you saw me going through, you get yourself in a world of, it's a wondrous place, but it gets complicated when you're trying to understand your spiritual, emotional self and what you see with these massive beings of masters and great teachers, and where a host had gathered, and I was there gathering too. It was though from the 22nd, from September the 17th at 7:05 p.m. and struck by the lightning, to September the 17th and 1977, having brain surgery exactly where that lightning it had entered my head, just on the opposite side. I had come to the gathering. I had come to where we were looking at it, and I don't feel like I'm anything special in it, but I know that's what it was. And the time now is set. And as we look at the 30 years and the things that we were talking about earlier in the prediction, they're setting themselves rapidly.
All right, they're setting themselves rapidly. Your predictions were very dire. I read them earlier.
Some of them were pretty good now, aren't?
Not only have they come true, the majority of them have come true. We're in the end stages, Dannion. Look, the book I wrote.
The Quickening is terrific. It covers what I'm describing.
All right, there's a lot of news going on right now. We've got, I could tick it off. We've got right now in Hong Kong a species jump of a new deadly flu from birds to human beings, and now transmissible apparently from humans to humans. We've got, they had a big argument about frogs.
I'll probably get that for sure.
Yeah, we had frogs, Dannion, with legs more than they ought to have, eyes in their throats, horrible things, deformities. People said, "Oh, it's not UV radiation." Well, wrong. Yes, it is. New studies show it is. We've got dolphins now coming down with deadly cancers. We've got simple-celled organisms in the Antarctic beginning to show actual DNA change, which is really scary. We've got the breakup of ice caps down there, ice flows that are entire ice flows that are breaking off. We have a lot of environmental things going on. We are moving toward an event. We are moving toward
isn't it exciting?
I don't know, Dannion.
Oh, Art, it's exciting. I wouldn't have. Why I fought to come back. Why I just fought to come back. When you live 22 years, and no matter what it is, and you believe in something, and I believed in this, and a lot of times the only thing that I had to hang on was that stuff kept coming true. It would keep coming true. And remember, I went 4 years before the first thing that I saw in that first ninth division ever come true. I went 4 years. They'd almost had gone away. I said, well, it was just something that happened. In 4 years, they started coming true. Well, these things are going to occur. the earth changes. We are affecting it somewhat, but she's growing the same way that we're growing. What we have to look in our place is we chose to be here. I know this, Art. We choose to come here, and we're chosen to come here. And we come per breath. We breathe in and we breathe out, and there's so many techniques I've learned about breathing because I have observed what you are and who you are when you're not doing that. And being a hospice volunteer for 19 years, I've been around people dealing with the nature of the last breath. And, you know, it's part of the training in the CIA, and it's written about in both the books, and I'll carry it even further in this next book because I learned about myself. We are capable in our collective consciousness of this. It's the most important thing I learned, and we call it prayer, contemplation, meditation, concentration, and prayer. Prayer adds a divine spark to it. But we are capable of collectively thinking for the love of someone or what they brought into our lives and changing it.
You believe we can stop it?
I believe so now because we kept me alive. The love of those people out there who prayed, who put their power, who put their times as they stand where they're working, or
they can do, if they apply that.
They did it, Art.
All right, Dannion, hold on. We're going to break here. Bottom of the hour. Dannion Brinkley is my guest. I'm Art Bell. This is Coast to Coast AM. Sort of an interesting side note, and I want to ask Dannion about it. A few days ago on the program, Dannion, I had somebody who called who said that he did progressive hypnotherapy, and that means simply taking people either forward or reverse in time. And he had found that people were able to sign their name. He would ask them to sign their name. And in every case, they could, under hypnosis, progress forward, sign their name, until they got to the year 2004. And then all they could do was make the sign of a cross, and they could no longer sign their name because, according to them, they weren't there anymore.
Makes sense to me, son.
It does?
Sure. Between right now, or between last year and to 2004, everything's going to happen. I mean, the whole change is going to happen. You look at Asia. You look at where, I mean, the Mexicans, remember you were saying about people from Central and South America flooding across the borders?
Yes, sir.
And I said that 22 years ago. Now they have armies shooting them. I mean, as they herd sheep and as they line the border with the military and they reinforce the patrol because millions of people are now coming across that border. And it'll get even worse than that. They're going to keep coming. And it'll destabilize in Mexico, and the Central American countries will begin to destabilize. It's just like what whoever wrote that piece was. This is all happening. But this is also the greatest time of enlightenment. I don't focus on all that stuff. Yes, it's coming, because I was going to go to Egypt. You know how much I care about Egypt? And they're over there shooting us.
I know you have an orphanage, I believe.
Yeah, I support an orphanage there and in Peru. VITA, a very fine organization, if anyone's interested. VITA is a very fine organization. But I support because I want to learn and grow. And too many of the predictions come true. And through this power of prayer, see, Art, this is the time, everybody that's listening, what I learned from this last experience is we really are where we think we are. We're great and powerful spiritual beings. We're on a mission. We're the best there is. We have the potential. As this world changes, and it's changing because this is what it's supposed to do. It's not anything focused on us. It's growing, and the banking establishment, and we just took and created $68 billion to bail out the Pacific Rim countries, and another $60 billion to bail out Korea, and they're going to war with North Korea.
South Korea.
Yeah, South Korea and North Korea. And that money was just created. They just invented that money from nowhere to stabilize these countries. And look where Tokyo is with 90% devaluation in real estate. And I write about it. This is 22 years ago. Yeah, here it is, just like as you see in the quickening. Well, here it is. What do? Do we run to the highlands? No.
If it's true, what shall we do?
You got it. I mean, when I came back after that, and I entered those levels, I knew I was even greater than I even think that I could possibly be. And it's learning about that now. But it's really learning about applying all this stuff to everyday life out here among people going and looking for the same things that I'm looking for, that I found them. And at least a way that I can measure to see how it works and to watch the future and to be able to make a plan in these changing and wondrous times. But by the time 2004 gets here, and I say that the round-off product would be 2012 to 13, I mean, that's what I wrote all this down, you know. And I never knew about the Mayans, know anything about them in 1975, and I wouldn't have cared. There were some Indians somewhere in Central America, and that's how I thought about that. And then all of a sudden, their time is the same timetable, except mine's maybe a little further than that.
Well, they're all similar. Dannion, tomorrow night I'm going to interview Robert Ghostwolf, Native American.
Wonderful person.
Wonderful person, yes. I interviewed recently Father Malachi Martin.
All right.
I've interviewed remote viewers. I've interviewed Dannion Brinkley and people like him. I've interviewed people from every discipline you can imagine, Dannion, and, you know, they all come at it from sort of a different perspective, but the story, in the end, is just about the same. We're about to go through a big change. Now, it's
going to be fun.
There are, well, yeah, there are some people, Dannion, who paint a very bleak, dark picture about what's going to occur with regard to earth changes and more, and there are others who take a more spiritual perspective on what's going to occur, and that's you. But through this change, Dannion, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to pass.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And knowing that, because it's this time, then the more you know about death, the less you will fear it.
Precisely.
And, I mean, that's my whole, you know, it's what I'm trying to do.
So whether it's somebody laying in bed listening to this tonight with a fatal tumor or cancer, or it's somebody looking ahead toward these changes, the net effect is the same. We're all going to die.
Oh, but we can do so much about it in between that time. The power of prayer. The first thing I'd like to say is to everyone you just described, I love you very, very much. And I know what you're going through. I don't need to feel your pain, but I know what you're going through. And we have an opportunity, whether we have tumors or whether we're going to be washed away by a stream or a thunderstorm or a volcano or, you know, somebody setting off a nuclear weapon or something somebody brought in the food system from some country that kills us by the millions.
Yep.
We have the power of collectively joining together certain times at certain places and putting our energy through what I call prayer, because it gives it that whole quality. And we can focus on any issue and we can change it. And I know that for sure because it saved my life.
I believe it, Dan.
I do too.
You know what, though? Dannion, I don't understand it. I believe in the power of prayer because it's real, because you can literally document it. I mean, you actually can document it.
Like Larry Dossey has written 2 books, 435 research paradigms, but that never meant much to me until I'm lying in that bed. I come through that surgery. I'm experiencing this love. I'm experiencing it, and it's keeping me alive. And not only is it keeping me alive, it is allowing me to enter more refined levels of consciousness and energies that I could see multidimensional natures of myself, which wasn't past and future. It was right then, happening then. I still don't understand it, Art.
One of the most brilliant men that I know, Dannion, along with you, is a man named Dr. Michio Kaku. He's a physicist at New York City University, and I interview him frequently. He is probably the next, Carl Sagan. He's a man capable of explaining a very, very difficult scientific theory in words that, all of us can understand. And he believes firmly, without a doubt, in a multi-dimensional universe. Many dimensions, 10 or more dimensions in our universe. Simultaneous timelines going on.
I can swear there's 4. I can't say there's 10, Art, but I can swear there's 4 of them, because the combination of what I was going through in my mental, physical self in the near-death experience and drilling holes in my head, which are the 2 extremes, which really makes sense for a fool like me. And then what's keeping me alive is rat poison, okay? And then all of a sudden, by people who are giving me something that they think, that they believe I gave to them, a certain kind of love, whatever how greatness that is, what goes around comes around, to save my life. But it expanded my consciousness by letting me see at least these 4 other worlds. I know they exist. It begins to help explain so much stuff that creates stress, like...
It does. Do you think, Dannion, that you understand the nature of them? In other words, here we are racing toward this event in this present timeline that we're all living in.
A series of events,
all right, even a series of events, racing toward whatever in the hell's going to happen.
Realization.
In this timeline, but is there some other dimension where something else is going on? Is the timeline and event coming in this timeline inevitable, locked in? And at the same time, is there a peaceful dimension elsewhere where all of this will not occur?
Absolutely. And it all works through us. It all works through us. And don't pin me down to this, Art, but because I'm studying it.
Still trying to work it out yourself.
Oh, God, listen. After I became aware of this place, and I haven't words yet, but there's 4 dimensions, and it understands how it focuses in each level of consciousness that we're all working in. I mean, it's psychobabble in these early days.
Yeah.
But then think of this.
There's a lot of people... Dannion, let me interrupt. There's a lot of people out there right now that will sit there and say, man, what a bunch of psychobabble. And they're not listening all the way. Or, I can even understand how they feel.
Me too.
That it's psychobabble, but it's not.
I swear it's not, Art. And not only that, I've been them. I mean, hey, guys, I've been that. I am you. But I have to look at it because it happened to me. I didn't read any of these 3 things in a comic book. I didn't watch it at the movies. These things happened to me, cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it has to benefit everybody that cared about me and that I care about them. And through Art Bell shows how I get to do that. Tell people that I love them and care about them because they saved my life and gave me a dimension, a way to look that not only I can see it as I try to understand it, but I can figure out a way to do something about it, to intermingle those energies and change through love, through prayer, and us working and focusing on it, and becoming aware of death, because it's going to happen around us in a lot of different ways, and a lot of surprising ways to destabilize our spiritual understanding of ourselves. Then that must be put into place first and foremost. And the only way that you can do it and not be attached to some kind of dogma is through the death experience, the near-death experience. It's not the only way, but it's one of the ways. And to be able to change a whole paradigm and move spirituality to mainstream, to where people in 1940 to 1964 and those a little older than that who are losing people.
How do we do that? How do we do that in a world so consumed with itself? With so much danger, with so much going on around it. People are so busy just trying to survive every day, getting to work, Dannion, making a living, trying to take care of their kids. They barely have time to consider any sort of spiritual anything. To them, it's, a million miles away.
Think about this, Art. Let them get struck by lightning. let them have open heart surgery, and let them have a brain surgery.
Yeah.
And they better figure out how to find this time, Bubba.
There's got to be an easier way, Danny.
It is to look at understanding death. Art, when in the course, let's finish the story so I can back through it.
All right.
We are only at the place where I'm out of surgery, where I come out of surgery. I'm struggling through these levels. I'm talking what you're hearing me say. And I don't know where I am to you, but I'm watching this gathering. Then I come back after surgery. They put me in intensive care. And as I sit there for 2 days, I blow another one. I had a third subdural hematoma.
Right.
And it burst, in my eye, just above my eye, in my frontal lobe. And about 13 hours after that, I had a cerebral seizure. You know, you remember that one?
Of course.
Hitting the walls and jerking tubes out of my head and watching all that stuff going on and not knowing where I was as I went from the most spiritual realm I had ever seen and a multidimensional psychology, watching it. And then I had a seizure, which you don't live through. You don't live through them. And through each of those events, what I learned from the seizure, which is always I've heard doctors describe what they thought the near-death experience was. Frontal lobe seizure, temporal lobe seizure, oxygen brain deprivation, endorphin releases, peptide bonds breaking down, so much stuff. I got to see in the first part of the seizure exactly what they were talking about. That stuff that they're describing, they're doing a pretty good job when they're looking at their understanding of chemistry and what happens. Because I saw in a seizure where you see the tunnel and you have a life review where, you know, your life passes before you, because that stuff happens in a seizure. It has nothing to do with what happens in a near-death experience. And then I went to 1969, and I wouldn't leave 1969. And because it was the place that my brain and myself took refuge, and it overpowered my spiritual place. And I watched this. I was privy because so much love was coming to me from people's prayers. The level at which I was surviving and observing the near-death experience was so superior to anything I'd ever experienced that that's why I tell people thank you from the bottom of my heart.
I know. I remember you calling day after day and saying, I can feel it.
I couldn't believe it, Art. I was living it. You know, there was all of a sudden so much other stuff from when what it was doing was it was us, the people listening to the show and people that knew about me and that cared, that I couldn't deal with the fact that they cared that much. That was so amazing to me, my God. But the fact that as I was feeling it, nothing could tell me that wasn't what it was. And I could experience it, and it had a depth to me, and it had a dimension to it, and it took a lot. It was a lot of people. I know that, but my God, look at the potential. Look what happens when I can say that's who kept me alive. That is what allowed me to explore levels. I'm still trying to understand from the great gathering, what in the world was all of that? But I know it's in me.
All right, Dannion, what is your current condition?
Well, I'm taking it a day at a time, and as I take it a day at a time, I'm getting better. I'm having still problems with my blood, these severe headaches, and trying to match the drugs, and taking it really easy.
In other words, they're trying to find the right
combination
level of drug for you to stabilize you.
And natural processes. But
even now, you're not really stable. These blood counts of yours are jumping all over the place, and
Absolutely.
they can't even begin to figure out why, can they?
No. We're trying. I mean, and it's a lot of things going on, and it creates headaches and really terrible swings. I mean, swings that can kill you in how my blood clots from one level to the other level. But, you know, it's something transforming, and maybe what's happening to me is a small-scale part of what we're talking about, that these events are to occur. You know, as I lay in that hospital, Art, and I looked at that ceiling, I started thinking that here I am again looking up instead of looking down, and maybe it was time for me to learn that perspective. You see, and I work on the CIA. I want people to find this place that I hope I'm discovering, and to find this place to deal with this. Because if we deal with this, death and how it happens around us, and sometimes the situations of which it will now occur because of these transitions, we must bring spirituality to center focus. And being a veteran of 3 of these things, then having the seizure, and then watching the levels of what we're capable of doing, I wouldn't miss this. I wouldn't, I fought hard to get back here. You were there. I fought hard to get back here, and it wasn't because I'm afraid of what's on the other side.
I was there. That's a fact. Dannion, that kind of catches us up to the present. When we come back, I want to take some phone calls.
Absolutely.
Sounds like you're doing well this evening. After you've gone through something like this, you have good and bad days. And I think we've caught him on a good one. That's lucky. I'm Art Bell, and there it is, folks, the story of Dannion Brinkley. Again, Dannion, a lot of people want to talk to you, and I think we have...
Hope it's not to yell at me about their book.
Yeah, look, while we're at it, and before we begin, you calculate, now there were thousands of books that were...
Oh, yeah, thousands.
Thousands. But you're calculating there are about 75 books.
I know there is out there, and I don't know who you are.
That fell through the...
No, it got turned out and knocked over and thrown out in the yard when they turned over all the file cabinets. Whatever they were looking for and plundering through, they went through every box and every file cabinet and dumped the stuff out and broke the... I did it the best that I could after getting up and coming to clean all this stuff up, that they just dumped out everything.
All right, so if you're one of the people who ordered a book and didn't get it...
Send me a postcard, please.
Send a postcard to Dannion Brinkley, P.O. Box 1919 in Aiken, that's A-I-K-E-N, Aiken, South Carolina, not Georgia, South Carolina, zip code 29802.
And I can match it and make sure they get out, because I've gotten a few returns. I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of books, but it still drives me crazy because it's my word, and all the things and the nice things that people have said as I've gone through this art, so many of your listeners, and the nice things that they say and the opportunities they give me, I appreciate it, and I want everybody to have their books because I think they're good. I mean, and I think they've set up a way that I can really, in this next book, and just the stuff I'm learning about what's happening, that I can just help people more and more. I stay in healthcare because I know that medicine is better living through chemistry. And that's where healthcare is going, and the control of vitamins, all my issues, the Access to Medical Treatment Act.
Oh, yes.
Maybe I'll get another chance when I know more about this to tell people, but Access to Medical Treatment Act and how I deal with those, because I know if we can look at the near-death experience and use practical application of the things that you learn from it and use caring about each other and prayer, we can change it.
All right, Dannion, here they come.
Hello.
First-time caller line, you're on the air with Dannion Brinkley. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello there. I don't know where that caller is. Now, let me see. Am I doing something? Oh, I see what No, I'm not. No, I don't see what I'm doing.
I can hear him, Art.
Yeah, I know, but for some reason he's not going on the air. Hold on here. Let me try this again. Are you there, caller? Yeah, for some reason, I guess you're on with Dannion. Dannion can hear you, but for some reason you're not. Let me put you back on hold and see if I can jog something here. Something is drastically wrong.
He's probably that ET that we had, you were talking about in that tape that was interrogated.
Yeah, he's there, but doggone it, I can't hear him. I don't understand this. Let me try one other line.
What is your name?
Something. No, hold on. Oh, wildcard line, are you there? Hello there? Yeah, you're there too, but you're not going on the air. Let me see. Immediate diagnosis of what could be wrong. Let's try it again. Let's go back to this first caller. Caller, are you there?
Hello?
All right. Got it.
Am I on?
You're on,
Okay.
yes.
Well, thanks for taking my call, Mr.
Sorry for that difficulty. Switch in the wrong position here.
I'll never trust electronics. Nothing more complicated than a knife and fork.
It wasn't them. It was me.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, as far as earth changes are concerned, you might want to check with the fellow up here, Jim Birkeland. He's got some amazing news about the Mammoth Lakes area.
I'm very well aware of that. I will get Jim Birkeland on the air maybe as early as Friday. No later than next week. There are some very disturbing things going on at Mammoth.
Yeah, a lot of Bajan radios might be needed in that area.
I hear you.
I understand.
I like this guy.
Mr. Brinkley,
Yes,
I really, I have to tell you, I read your book, and I was astonished. It was as if I came out of a 20-year dream. 20 years ago, I had my throat cut in a parking lot on the East Coast. And I had a very, very strange experience.
It wasn't me that did it, was it?
First, let me make sure. There was a personality change very similar. I was a 25-year-old ignorant thug at the time.
Brother.
But I had a really astonishing experience, and so much of what I didn't have anything quite as dramatic as you, but I did have that life review where I got to feel what everybody I harmed felt, and that was really horrifying. I reached that moment of real despair over that one.
Been there, done that, brother. 3 times in a row.
Wow, I know.
I'm getting better though.
Right. The fear of death after that was gone, and it was, freak accident that as we know, there are no accidents really.
That's the lesson you chose to learn.
Right. There was quite a number of things which I tried to talk about one time shortly afterwards with a professor of psychology who went on to tell me about how the chemicals are released in the brain. You just mentioned this on the air. And I didn't talk about it again for many years.
I know those. A lot of people I know the same way, man.
And then I read your book, and I said, this is just like an old dream that I remembered. But a thing did happen, and that's the reason I wanted to talk to you. I went through some of the stuff, like being able to pick the next number to come up on the wheel. That was kind of fun. It was kind of scared
good at that myself, but mostly I had to have things that were alive. It had to be horses or dogs or animals.
Yeah, I read that. Right. My thing was wheels.
I never could pick numbers like that.
Yeah, it lasted for a summer. I could pick wheels, and I scared a few people with that. And I just remembered this when I read your book. What happened was I kind of just dusted that whole thing off. I had a major life change. I got a degree and a license to practice physical therapy, of all things.
Congratulations.
And I went on but I kind of just dropped that whole thing and went after the buck. And a lot of the intuitive stuff that had happened just seemed to just fade away. Yep.
Sounds exactly accurate so far.
And I just wondered, I've experimented in ways to try to regain that contact. I went out in the desert one time and
I got you. Listen to me. Find something that you get up for each day worth equal to that $1.
Right.
I work hard. I mean, like everybody listening. But I also care about people dying alone. I'm a hospice volunteer.
Yes.
And I wake up every morning that no one will die alone as I put everything I do in living and taking care of my health and trying to put my heart back together. I know it works because I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I know it works because I find a whole new reason and a whole new system of perceptions when I'm doing the same thing in my spiritual self as I'm doing in my physical self, and I'm using my mind and my heart to make the proper decisions and plan for each day.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you start there.
A new discipline.
No, not a.
I've always tried to help people ever since.
Well,
the main thing that I got when I got my life review was the instruction to always be kind.
Well,
it seems so important.
It's a good thing they didn't show that to me. I'd be depressed all of the time.
Oh, God.
So what you learn from the near-death experience...
And constantly in violation.
Yep. But what the near-death experience teaches is just what you're talking about. The near-death experience, when you have a panoramic life review, or you just study people's panoramic life reviews, I was watching where James Redfield put a section in his new book, Celestine Vision, about the panoramic life review as the most significant part of the near-death experience. Well, it is that.
Yeah.
Because when you hear people listen to how that works, that you not only see your life pass before you, you watch it like you're a friend of yours going through stuff that you can do nothing about,
Right.
and you become every person.
Mhm.
Then by doing for what appears to be being a good, nice person, like I'll say me doing hospice, I know I'm going to be those people that I help.
Mhm.
I know I'm going to feel the joy of when I go in that room.
Right.
Just like when you go to find something to care about. If it's, I choose hospice and I support hospice, but you can be a big brother. You can be a friend to people. You can deliver Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, and these are not something you're doing because you're a nice guy. It's something that you can do that automatically sets in focus a system
Right.
that you learn from the near-death experience that is true, that you can start using, and it will work.
All right.
Right.
Well, I appreciate it, caller. Thank you. And Dannion, to me, having a panoramic life review that includes feeling what others have felt from you is the most terrifying thing I could even imagine.
Well, I've run through it 3 times, Art.
Because I've hurt people. I know I have,
Oh,
Dannion.
God, me too, man. In the first one, it was horrendous. But you know something, Art? Remember, it's only a part of a system. There is a whole system. It doesn't stop on one simple part. You will review your life. You will see the difference that you made. I mean, and I keep telling people, you don't measure yourself by what you think about it. If God couldn't come today, if the spiritual world or the greatness and the goodness and the gentleness and the kindness and the love, like a mother gives a child, you know, how sharks take care of children. I mean, how the whole nature of motherhood and that kind of love, if that can come into play and you have that, then what happens is you really start to change it. You're not afraid of having a panoramic life review. It's a part of the system.
Yeah, but you've had an experience that others haven't had in this life.
I don't recommend they haven't. I recommend them listening to me.
I understand, but even listening to you, this is going to occur when we pass.
Oh, absolutely.
And I can't think of any greater judgment than that which you would pass upon yourself, feeling what you did to others. You would be the one to pass judgment upon yourself. There's
absolutely.
No question
and
about it.
You are horrendous to yourself.
I bet. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Dannion Brinkley. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, turn your radio off, please.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
That's better.
Hello.
Hi, this is Stephanie from Brooklyn.
Hi, Stephanie. Welcome.
Welcome yourself.
Are you listening to WABC?
Yep.
All right.
I just wanted to know how you're doing, and hopefully you're doing better.
Better. I mean, I have problems, you know, but considering where we started, Steph, I've come a long way, and I've taken it easy, which has been driving me crazy, and going to the doctor, and I have good days, like 5 decent, you know, from horrendous to decent, and then I have 2 good days. But, you know, you just do it a step at a time, but I'm going to be here.
Good, because we need you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steph.
I wanted to ask one question.
Sure.
Will you be there next month on the cruise?
Well, all right. It's not actually next month. I think it's the cruise. Let me.
We're doing 2 cruises. Yes, I'll be on that cruise.
On the 25th.
Yes.
February 25th.
I'm going to be on it.
Okay, so that's one I didn't even know about.
I snuck it in on Art because he chastises me so for working. He and Ramona beat me really, really bad. Stephanie, you've blown
I'm
it for
definitely going to be there, and I'm taking the cruise just because you're there.
Well, I'm definitely going to be there, and by then I will have even figured out more stuff.
Where are you going?
I am not telling you, Art. I'll never hear the end of it.
Stephanie, where's he going?
Ramona, oh, God, how could you do this to me, Steph? And they really come after.
While we're on the subject of cruises, we've got one we're going to do together.
Oh, God.
May 10th through the 17th. This is going to be a whiz banger because The wild man himself, Dr. Zaya Was, the director of antiquities at Giza.
Yeah.
He's going to be there. You'll be there. Hancock, Ram Hancock, Robert Bivall, Dr. Ed Krupp, and I'm going to try and moderate this whole thing. And I'm ordering my bulletproof vest.
You better. But you know something, Art? For once, the ground rules will be laid out and verified and told to your audience. The ground rules for to come in and bringing this to a focus and to bring it to a perspective and to look at ways to move from it in a constructive fashion will be laid down because of this cruise and what each comes to talk about. And you as you hold a really level place and you explore it, and here comes finally a chance. I was proud how it came together and how we got a part of it. I'm really proud of it. And it's done in a way like in Alaska, and it's done in a way where we can look at the vastness and the beauty of the world. And
maybe that'll quiet everybody down a little bit. I can only
give
hope.
Us perspective.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Zaya Was, Dr. Was, called me from Cairo several times and browbeat me until I said, all right. I'm serious. He really did. He said, I'm not going. If you don't do it, I'm not going to go.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're doing it.
Anyway, we are going on that, and anybody who wants to come along, it's 1-800-888-5509. I forget to give that out. It's 1-800-888-5509, or if you're in California, area code 310-568-0138.
It's just one of those rare times, Art. I look forward to it. It's a family on this boat, on the ship, and I can spend that time in it. I like the cruises, their quality, and it's people yearning for it, and we get a chance to, if all that Casey stuff is true, we get to help to define an era that determines consciousness changing.
Yeah, you know what Zai says, though? He says that's not a bit of it's true. He said there has never been one artifact, one grain of sand to indicate that Atlantis was ever here.
Oh, is this going to be fun?
That's Zahi.
But so what? I believe what Zahi believes, he believes is true. I believe it, but I've seen too much and listened to too much for it not to come to a place where it can be explored and studied with given equal ground to all those places. The truth is still going to be the truth, Art.
I hear you. All right, stay right where you are. We've got one last segment to do, and we're going to lay heavily into the phones. From the high desert, person, somebody in Beaverton, Oregon, and of course I'm getting a gazillion faxes, and I'm just not going to have an opportunity to read them all on the air, but this one hit the mark. Listen to this, Dannion. Art, I've heard you and Dannion ever since the first time he was on your show. 1, I've never heard you talk to anyone like you are tonight with Dannion. Even earlier times with Dannion himself. 2, I've never heard Dannion laugh like he has tonight. What am I hearing? And I can answer that. You're hearing Dannion Brinkley and Art Bell after something has happened that changed both of them. And I went and I sat by Dannion's bed and said goodbye to him, and we talked about many things that we need not repeat here. But you're listening to two people who know each other now in a way they did not know each other before. And that's why it sounds different. I know Dannion's secrets. He knows mine. I guess we know each other's deepest fears. And so you're hearing a deeper relationship, or you're hearing the edges of it. Is that a fair comment, Dannion?
Absolutely. It's about loving each other. Look, Art, here comes a whole new world. We're hearing me laugh because I'm happy to be alive, but I'm happy to be alive because I'm living in the greatest times and moments, and I get a chance to make a difference from what I went through, again, they always change. Those things change your whole life. And you going through it with me and watching the ins and outs and the days. And because it was going to be an end. And I think that it can be possible for everybody who listens and pays attention. And, I mean, they can be the same place. And for whoever this person is, I thank you very much for what you see and what you say.
It's just very observant of them. I mean, they're absolutely correct. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Dannion Brinkley. Good morning.
Good morning, Art. Good morning, Dannion.
Who is this?
Marcia in Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Good morning, Marcia.
Good morning.
I just wanted to comment, Dannion, that number one, it is the greatest honor for me to speak to you. I'm in the process of reading your book, A Peace in the Light.
Thank you very, very much.
I ran across it in the bookstore. I recognized your name from Art's show. I grabbed it, and my husband looked at me. I said, there's no way I'm walking out of here without it.
Thanks.
That you have really brought a lot of light to some of the things I've been going through for the last year and a half.
We're all entering that stage. We're there.
It's scary.
Yeah, but it's also wondrous to explore. Look, you're not going to die. I tell us that, and I can back it up with enough photos that Art has and enough stuff that at least I've been to the place where I'd have an option to look at it from. Then how do we centralize spirituality? I say good hospice work. I mean, anybody can write me and put Compassion in Action or CIA and at the same address in Aiken, and I'll make sure the information gets out to them. But you have an opportunity to change this world and to change yourself. So, hey.
That's what I've been working on for the last year and a half, and hearing you on Art's show and reading your books is a tremendous guidebook for me.
God, and I tried to write them that way. And, you know, Art Bell has a unique way of getting people at a comfortable place to where they can explore it. And I try to just tell the truth about what I've been through and try to help people with it, because I don't think they ought to go through it. And yes, this is some pretty wild stuff, but what does it really mean if you don't die? The freedoms that come with it, and the learning about the panoramic life review and being able to deal with losing our loved ones, but heaven's gaining them. And what happens to us as a spiritual being gives us back our strength, gives us back control of our lives and in our health care and where the government's going and financial collapse like that gold commercial I just heard. I'd recommend everybody ought to call and get that information. Whether they make a move or not, they should get it.
Right.
And start looking that it is our spiritual self and that we designed a world that's going to change very rapidly just to see how good we are and how fast we can hold to our spiritual self. So keep that in mind, and thanks for reading, and make sure you get the next one.
Oh, I will. Could I ask one question of you?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
If you had one quick piece of advice to give someone who is just being awakened or quickened, pardon me, Art, to all of the changes and all of the different dimensions around us, what would that one piece of advice be as far as
listening to yourself?
Yeah.
Listening to yourself as you read it and what you feel about it, and as you reinforce it by listening to a lot of different perspectives from Art's to mine to other people. Stay true to you. People try to tell me I hadn't have a near-death experience. Well, let them drill holes in their head. People trying to tell you that, you know, like I tell you, if you make a payment, you got an opinion. And other than that, it's just an opinion.
Yep.
When you feel it and you read it, you find organizations and groups like Art's website, and I hope to soon have one. I'm learning about that stuff where you can come find me and I can talk back and forth. And what you do is stay true to you.
Yep, that really is. Thank you, ma'am. That's really good advice. Now, almost everybody, no, maybe everybody, they have a voice. They speak to themselves. A lot of times they don't listen. They don't take their own advice. But if you stop and you are. And if you stop and listen to your own advice, you're hardly ever going to go wrong. You're just not going to go wrong.
Connect to the spiritual side of you. You know, your advice and when you're thinking is one thing, but there's a spiritual side to you, and everybody has it, and just figuring out how we keep that and bring that into focus. Because once you match those two sides, you're not only listening to yourself from what you've gathered as data, you're supporting yourself by the spiritual perspective on it. I mean, that's how you do it. I know that because I have found through 3 near-death experiences.
All right.
That's how it works.
First-time caller line, you're on the air with Dannion Brinkley and Art Bell. Hello.
Hello.
Hi there. Where are you?
I'm in Pueblo, Colorado.
All right.
And who are you?
My name's Kathy Dannion. I've been following your story since the first time I heard of the first experience you had when you were struck by lightning.
So you like studying idiots?
No, I've been on my own spiritual quest since '84, and I haven't had to have a near-death experience to know that the soul never dies.
Thank God.
I know, and I love you so much. And
thanks, Kathy.
I bless you for what you do with terminal patients, and God, I just. Are you still working with Dr. Moody?
Yeah,
I've seen you interviewed with him and working with him.
Well,
his books have meant so much to me as yours have.
Well, I talk to Raymond on a regular basis, and, you know, we explore some things together, and we have differences of opinions of other things, but...
Of course.
He's like a brother to me, and yes, I talked to him just, I think yesterday or the day before.
Oh, I love his books, too. He's just a great guy.
I think that hospice work, like what you're talking about, I mean, for people who don't know that, I've been a hospice volunteer for 19 years, and I just had my 158th person. So when I talk about near-death experience and stuff, like, you know, Kathy, I do this every day. I don't live in some tower. I'm in nursing homes, and I'm dealing with hospice programs, and this last lady was breast cancer, and it was, you know, pretty terrible, but helping her there, because I'm going to be that person again, and I find the value of myself when I'm the difference that spirituality makes.
Yes.
When someone's scared of facing that other side, and I try to.
I bless you for that, because, you know, I'll tell you, my parents have both passed, and my dad, bizarrely enough, he was very pragmatic and linear, logical person, but he got some very deep spiritual beliefs before he died, and he said, I swear to you, if there's any way I can tell you what happens, I will. And he did. It was a year and a half after he died, but I had a communication with him, and I know it was him.
66% of all widowers are in surveys have some kind of contact.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any doubt that you can get back. I know people like James Von Prague and a guy, John, I can't think of John's last name, and George Anderson. The side, and
you know, I had James Von Prague on the program.
He's terrific.
And I just got a fax from somebody who said Von Prague was on Larry King last night.
Well, that's where he's supposed to be. Wonder if he did to Larry King. That'd be so much fun. I can't wait to talk to him.
All right. Wildcard line, you're on the air with Dannion Brinkley. Hello.
Hello?
Hi.
Am I on?
Hello?
Yes, you are. Where are you?
I'm in North Carolina.
Okay.
Dannion, I met
your name?
My name is Archer.
Hi, Archer.
Hi, Dannion. I met you 2 years ago in Wilmington.
At the
Metaphysics show?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to say, I
still like me?
Man, I still love you. What are you talking about?
Thanks, Archer.
I prayed that you would live because we need you.
You're one of those people who did that to me, huh?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I mean, Archer, I came to a realization about the collective power of prayer. You know, I thought of it as non-local energy and listening to what Larry says and how people make it so clinical. I never realized the collective power of people who love each other and what they can direct that power toward. And I mean, thanks for doing that. I mean, thanks.
Oh, there's no question about it. I know also that the soul never dies, and it's and we live in other dimensions and multidimensionality.
Well, why didn't you tell me?
Well, I didn't realize it fully like I do now.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks a lot, Archer. You know, if somebody would have told me, I wouldn't have believed it, but, you know, I have to learn the way I learn. I'm glad you learn it a lot easier.
Right. I'm working with a mutual friend of ours right now to learn more every day.
Who's that?
That's Reverend Kimberly Henry.
All right.
And she is enlightening me every day. And I have learned a lot from you and your books, but I just wanted to say that
thanks, Archer, because let me tell you something. What I just went through has a lot of spiritual, mystical stuff to it. Has a lot of pain and a lot of insecurities that I'd never have. But when something like this happens, you have to really face your life and look at whether I can walk up the stairs or sit down and the pain that I go through. And maybe hearing from people that contributed to it and put a lot of prayer in there gives me a place to rebuild and refine myself. It's why I like art shows. Art shows are the shows where I can just be me and open my heart up and look at myself and share with it and know that I got brothers and sisters out there that are the people of the night doing the same thing. And I feel free and open to talk about what I'm going through and hoping that it helps them. And it's nice to hear from you.
Dannion, here we go. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. I'm Art Bell. He's Dannion Brinkley. Who are you?
I'm Kathy from Phoenix.
Hi,
Kathy.
Hi. This is weird. I'm incoherent. I knew I had to get home tonight. I knew that if I called, I would get to speak to you.
Don't you love these coincidences?
Yeah. And I want to thank you. You've had a profound, what do you call it, on my life.
An effect?
Effect, yes. And,
wasn't bad, was it?
Oh no, it was, when I first heard you, I had I guess an empathic reaction. And like the previous callers have said, I love you.
I love you.
And I prayed for you.
And I thank you for that.
And the hospice work, you are very important. You have to take care of yourself and keep it up. My father passed away.
Mom. But I can tell you this, Kat, listen. After the pain that I just went through, I can promise you I'm doing a lot better.
Okay.
And thanks for calling, because it's nice to hear from us. It's nice to hear from us, and new things are coming. New things, new changes. I'm just putting it in order.
So many new things have happened to me since 1965. My father had cancer of the brain, and he died, but we had hospice.
It's the greatest thing in the world.
I cannot say to anyone listening how much that got us through. They let us know what to look for. They gave us a list of the signs, the symptoms, and without it, I don't think we could have made it. My sisters and I will forever be grateful to hospice for what
it's time for you to become a volunteer now.
And I mean,
that's
the time.
Compassion. You can find the time.
I have it.
Then go for it. I mean, write me at Compassion in Action here at 1919 in Aiken, and I'll send you out a bunch of propaganda of what I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to put a mystical side and a spiritual side to the death experience to create closure in families, because once that's in place, that is what we now think is the most fearful thing becomes the place that is the most stable, most loving, most supportive place for you to face what's coming in the future. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be back and to be alive and to have this opportunity. And I thank everybody who, just like you, helped me.
Well, a couple of years ago, I don't know if I could have bought into all of this.
Well, when they cut your heart out, if they'd have cut your heart out a couple of years ago, you would have.
Well, I kind of lost my heart a couple of years ago, but my father went through some experiences. He saw a light.
All right.
He asked me if I could see the light. He saw people that he had known. He saw his father and his mother.
You can only listen to so many millions of testimonies like this before you've got to start believing. You've got to start.
Like osmosis, if nothing else.
Yeah. Let me give your address again so I don't have to send it to a million people. It's Dannion Brinkley.
You're so wild.
Post Office Box 1919, in Aiken, Aiken, South Carolina, 29802, right?
Yes, and just write CIA on the card.
Yeah, that's you want to tell everybody how you picked CIA? I mean, Compassion in Action. You probably came up with the initials first, some of your old buds.
Yeah, friends of mine from a long time ago, just what we were talking about in the beginning of the show. It was a way to kind of gig them back that now the part that's what everybody refers to as the CIA, but it was a lot of agencies, that I just took that and did it in such a way that Compassion in Action, the Twilight Brigade, and how it's set up is much formatted the way that that operation was in those days. And it's done, it's done overtly instead of covertly, but it's the same way. And I figured that when you did something in order to protect the country as great as this, and in soldiers and in people in nursing homes, that if you did it the same way and you put love and a true honesty about what you say instead of what our intelligence apparatus in the covert world that we now live in became in existence, that maybe I could transform it. And I go to soldiers and, my regular people. So people, if they want to know more about it, write me and I'll pass that on and see to it gets out. And, if you want to know what I'm doing and get the newsletter, okay, write me. I will get it out and I will have it right, unless I die again, and then I'll get behind. But, I'm sorry for those that I'm late. But
unless I die again, then I'll get behind. I got to remember that sentence.
Unless I die again, I won't get behind.
Oh, okay. I thought you said, if I die again, then I'll get behind.
Oh, no, Art, I'm not letting you or anybody else off that easy. I'm staying. I'm staying. There is too much. I believe more in people and what we're here for and what we're capable of doing collectively to find something we all pray about and change it and show the power of who we are, because we have love and understanding and this thing of fear of death, so that we can make a decision. See, Art, I look at managed care, and you know how fanatical I am about all of that.
I do.
I drive people crazy with it, but I look at, we must pay attention to, in this next congressional 105th or 6th Congress, whatever it is, they're going to take away our rights to vitamin supplements. They're going to change everything that we got in the vitamin supplement.
Over my dead body.
Well, over mine too, but that's what people must watch for, and they must listen to you, and they must research this out, because for the freedoms that we have, they must be taken away. And I think the health care, because it exists from cradle to the grave, must be watched carefully and paid a lot of attention to. And I do a lot of that, and I put us in places like the CIA so people can be observant and also be of service.
All right, my friend. You've done it. Obviously, you are better. You made it through 4 hours, just like that. It's gone. Show's over and all that stuff. So you need to go back and rest, but you sure gave us your best, Dannion.
Thanks, Art. And I love everybody, and I thank them. And God bless Art Bell and Ramona and everybody that listens to this. And I'll be back, and I'll figure it all out.
Good night, my friend.
Good night. Thanks, Art.
Take care. That's Dannion Brinkley. I'm Art Bell, and that's it from the windy high desert this night. Tomorrow night, Robert Ghostwolf. Good night.
From the high desert and the great American Southwest, I bid you all good evening or good morning, as the case may be, across all this great land and beyond. From the Tahitian Hawaiian Island chains in the west, eastward to the Caribbean and the U.S. Virgin Islands, south into South America, north all the way to the pole, and worldwide on the Internet. This is Coast to Coast AM, and I'm Art Bell. Good morning. It's great to be here. Yes, we are here live. And tonight is going to be a show of synchronicity. Synchronicity. I'm going to tell you, many of you would not have heard it, so I'm going to tell you what happened last night first, because it bears on what we're going to do this evening. Let me tell you, and I understand that many of you do not have computers, so let me simply explain the lash up that I've got here, which is technically really cool, by the way. I have when I'm on the air, a full-time connection to the internet. Full-time. And I have 3 in-studio cameras, Howard Industry cameras, by the way, which you can get from the C. Crane Company, plug. And one is to the side of me, one is directly in front of me, and the other is to the side and rear of me. And I built a little lash-up where I have a sequencer, and I sequence these cameras, and about, every 45 seconds, a new picture is automatically snapped by whichever camera happens to be active at that moment and sent to the internet. Now, I have been doing this for at least a half a year, 5 hours per night. We have sent from these same cameras, under the precise same lighting conditions, literally tens of thousands of pictures of, me doing the show here in the studio on a nightly basis, sitting here doing the show. Just fun for the website and fun for people who are listening to the program to be able to go up there and see me doing the program. To get the chronology correct, last night we were doing a show with David Oates, Reverse Speech. If you missed it, you'll catch it tomorrow night. I think they're repeating it tomorrow night. Now, we were doing reversals. In fact, we were concluding reversals on the show with Harlot, Patsy, the devil worshiper, the Satanist, the claimed witch. She said she was a witch, but it was obvious by the end of the show that she was a Satan worshiper. Now, this was one scary young lady in so many ways, and the one, of course, that is most prominently remembered by me and anybody else who ever heard it was about her daughter. And she was, of course, dedicated, she said, to Satan. And so I asked her a rather poignant question at the very end of the program. I said, Patsy, or Harlot, how do you know? I mean, you have embraced Satan. You know you're going to hell, and that's where you'll be. But your daughter, very young daughter, at 3 years old or something, was murdered by your ex-husband. How do you're going to be in one place, and she's going to be in the other. And she said, oh, no, she won't. I conducted a ceremony or ritual, I forget what she said, to ensure that she would be embraced by hell, by Satan. Really freaky stuff. And this is what we were discussing. I was actually, I think, having David repeat that segment, that reversal, which was frightening in itself. Now, with that as a setup, it was 1:26, 1 hour, 01:26:21. In other words, 26 minutes after 1 o'clock in the morning, and seconds and change. Now, I happened, I've got a monitor right next to me that shows me these photographs, and I glanced over it, at it, and I about had a heart attack. I'm serious, I about had a heart attack. The photograph that was showing on the monitor was completely, in my opinion, inexplicable, and so I quickly reached over and I froze it. I've got a mouse in right here, and I froze the photograph, boom, like that, and left it there, and it is still there right now. Now, why is this unusual? A, because of what we were talking about. B, because there is, I don't know how you would describe it, a protoplasmic something covering the front portion of my entire head. And if you look very carefully and do any analysis of this electronic picture, which, believe me, people have been doing like crazy, one might guess or conclude a whole lot of things. Now, number one, bear in mind, this is a CCD camera. And these pictures are being sent live. So there's no double exposure here because it's not a camera. B, we have sent tens of thousands of similar pictures from similar angles to the website over the last half year, and nothing like this has ever manifested. So it scared me. I mean, it really, truly scared me, and I think with very good cause. It's inexplicable in nearly every way that you can try and talk about it. Simply inexplicable. It does not cover just my head, but actually out and beyond my head. Now, let's cover some of the obvious possibilities. Smoke. Could it be smoke? Well, yeah, but it isn't. As a matter of fact, at that moment, I was not smoking, for one thing. For another, the obvious trail of smoke from my hand or, say, the ashtray, which is, if you look carefully, is visible in the photograph. It would show a trail of smoke from there or, say, from my mouth upward to explain this photograph. None of that is true. None of that is there. I think that this is a genuine, what? Ghost photograph? Maybe. Maybe a ghost, maybe an entity, maybe a presence, maybe the subject material, maybe harlot, maybe a lot of things. I don't know, but I can tell you this. I had quite a discussion with Keith, my webmaster. He said, well, some have suggested it might be a reflection from your watch band. Not a chance. Look carefully at the picture. It's up there now, and you will see my watch band, and you will clearly see the watch band is not reflecting anything which it would in a very shiny way. This is not a reflection from anything. It's not double exposed. It's not scanned. It's not, excuse the English, it's not nothing. It's just a raw, straight-out image. And I believe proof of I don't know what. Could this have been something that came from my mind? Could this be something that came... in other words, where did this come from? I don't know. Somebody called and said, well, Art, it's just gray hair. Bull. I don't have gray hair. I have, maybe a couple of strands of gray hair, a few strands of gray hair, and I have a fair amount of gray in my mustache, but my hair, for the most part, is dark brown to black. So I'm keeping that photograph up there, and I really recommend that any of you who feel like doing it, grab that photograph, disassemble it in any manner you wish, magnify it, go to work on it, do whatever you can do with it, and you tell me what it is. But I know what it isn't. Now, when you talk with people like my guest coming up, Dale Kaczmarek, who runs the Ghost Research Society in Oak Lawn, Illinois, which, by the way, is near Chicago, and I'll be telling you more about him in a moment. I have done many interviews with people like Dale who do research on things like this, but never before, with the exception maybe of one sharp knock on my door that scared the heck out of me, never before have I had any personal photographic evidence of anything in all the years that I've talked about these subjects, and it's been a lot of years now, folks, a lot of years now, and I have never seen anything like this. Now, some people called and said, well, nice gray hair, and so I had Keith look back through the files of other photographs, every now and then he will save the last photograph taken every night by these studio cams. I said, please put one up there, similar angle if you can find it. He has done that. In the new items on my website, you will see two photographs. You've got to click on them to make them full size. One is the current studio cam photograph, and the other is a photograph taken at the same angle to give you an idea of what color my hair really is. So there you have it. I believe what I have up there right now is one of the most inexplicable photographs I have ever seen in my entire life, because of all the reasons that I just gave you. My wife looked at it and went, holy smokes, or a derivation thereof, and stared at it for a very long time, as did my boss, as have, Bob Crane, everybody I know. I've called today and I've said, please take a look at this photograph. So there you have it. If you want to see it, it's on my website right now, either by going to the studio cam. Now, I will activate that live and wipe this photograph out eventually. Here, maybe in a couple hours. I'm going to leave it up there for a while. And you can see the comparison that Keith put up, which is in, I believe, the first item in the new item section. I mean, when I tell you this is freaky, I'm telling you from a person, and I don't very frequently get to do that. This isn't someone else. This is not somebody's story. This is me telling you this happened last night and scared the heck out of me. So anyway, coming up shortly, and of course it's fairly synchronistic, is it not, that I have somebody who is an expert in just exactly this sort of thing coming on here in a moment. Now, as we approach Christmas, and boy, is it ever approaching, and yes, you can still get a gold rose by Christmas. The people at the American Gold Rose Company are back. They take real, honest-to-God roses at their peak moment and dip them into 24-karat gold, which freezes them in time for all time, just perfect and just right for the holidays. Here's the collection they have that you can have. The Classic Rose, priced at $49.95, 11 inches long. Then, the Hollywood Elite, $65, and you can send someone a long stem gold rose, 17 inches long, or just order the original rose, simple, no leaves, $39.95. All of these dipped in 24-karat gold, and there is more. If you buy any two roses right now, you receive a free Christmas pendant made of a genuine mistletoe leaf. Pretty cool, huh? And what do they do with that? Dip it in 24-karat gold. It's a $23 value. The American Gold Rose Company, call them right now at 1-800-458-7134. They can get it to you by Christmas. 1-800-458-7134, or anybody else you want to send it to, of course. Alaska, Hawaii, and Canada. Area code 918-687-0404. It's the American Gold Rose Company. Are you overweight? Would you like to lose an average 8 to 10 pounds in the next month? We know that fiber helps sweep fat out of the digestive tract like a broom, reducing the amount of fat your body stores as excess weight. Well, let me tell you about a revolutionary fiber. Chitosan. It's a natural fiber that comes from shellfish. It not only sweeps fat, but also absorbs up to 10 times more fat than other fibers. You can get this fiber in a formula called Chito Slim. Chito Slim is effective because you can lose weight without changing your eating habits. And there are no stimulants. It's a gentle, effective way to lose excess weight. Here's the special offer. When you order a 90-day supply of Chito Slim, you'll get an antioxidant moisturizing cream absolutely free. Call 1-800-557-4627. It's guaranteed to work or your money back, and it's not available in stores. So call 1-800-557-4627. That's 1-800-557-4627. 4627. You've got nothing to lose but the fat. Now, I would like any of you, when we get into open lines, who have analyzed this photograph in any way you can manage to analyze it, chime in, and I would like to hear your thoughts. Now, fortunately, I did call Dale earlier today and alert him to this photograph, and so he has seen it. Who is Dale David Kazmarek? Well, he has been actively investigating paranormal phenomena since 1975, though his interests go far beyond that. He says he works with physics, which help to complement my investigations, whether local or out of state. Yes, he is a ghost investigator. He has conducted many investigations concerning ghost lights, haunted houses, battlefields, cemeteries, Indian burial grounds, murder sites, churches, sacred sites, and so on. He is currently listed in the Encyclopedia of Association's Directory of Newsletters, the Forensic Services Directory, Instant Information. He personally directs excursions into the unknown, haunted Chicagoland tours, which is part of the Oak Lawn Chamber of Commerce and has led groups to England as well. He contributed a chapter for a book released by Bantam called True Tales of the Unknown, the Uninvited, and several chapters for Dead Zones, released by Warner Brothers and both edited by Sharon Jarvis. He's also written a book tentatively entitled Windy City Ghosts, which deals with strange and unusual sightings in and around Chicago. The latter has not yet been accepted for publication, so I guess he has a manuscript of it. He is a sub-operator for several computer bulletin board systems and belongs to America Online and has been to England and Wales seeking out the paranormal. He is a member of all kinds of, the Ghost Research Society, editor of Ghost Tracker's newsletter, is a member of the American Electronic Voice Phenomena group, honorary life member of the Ghost Club, Society for the Investigation of the Unexplained, and so forth and so on. Here is Dale Kaczmarek. Dale, welcome to the program.
Good evening.
Good evening to you. I booked you, you will recall. When did I book you anyway? I booked you. When did we first talk on the phone? Do you recall?
Oh, a few days back.
A few days ago, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, I had no idea that I would be running into... I usually try to stay pretty objective, Dale. I have been on a search, a lifelong search, and I think many of us have, to try and figure out if there is some sort of conscious existence, beyond death. And I've been at that for years and years and years, and I guess you have too. Because it says here in personal goals that you too are really seeking to try and figure out if there is something that is beyond this life. How sure are you there is?
Well, I am very sure. I've been investigating sites and locations for 25, 30 years now. I have never actually seen one myself, but I believe through the evidence we've collected over the years as far as our electronic equipment that we bring along to investigate sites, being in locations where I've had little brushes with the paranormal, including cold spots that I felt should not be there, strange odors and psychic smells, and many of the photographs that we have taken at unusual locations, or sometimes just pictures that people have sent me from around the world that show unusual forms, shapes, semi-transparent figures of people or animals sometimes that were not there when these people took the photographs. So
right.
It's not just a matter of whether I believe or disbelieve in the subject. I think it's just the preponderance of the evidence that I've gotten over the years that really has directed me into the path of trying to seek out what these things really are.
Okay, so then your approach to this has been evidentiary. In other words, you've tried to simply collect evidence on audio or video or photographs or gone in with equipment to measure that kind of thing. You've been looking for direct and hard evidence.
Direct and hard evidence, and also trying to rule out, obviously, to begin with, natural explanations that could cause these hauntings or the ghost phenomena. And by using the equipment, by using the cameras and the various forms of equipment that we do use, we can rule out a lot of possible natural explanations and get down to the nitty-gritty, so to speak.
And you've been doing this now for 30 years?
Close to 30 years, yes.
How come? An obvious question. In other words, it's an odd field. What takes somebody like you into a field like this?
Well, it sounds a little corny, actually, but my parents told me ghost stories when I was a youngster.
It's not corny.
It kind of stuck with me as I began to get a little bit older and tried to find out which stories were true, which stories were false. There are a lot of stories in the Chicagoland area, in the suburbs, that I've been working on for quite a number of years, and some have turned out to be dead ends. Others tend to be more evidential as far as what's there.
And of course, that is going to be the next question. What is there? But I mean, how did you begin? Do you begin it as a hobby? I know now you give tours and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So, in a sense, I guess you're a professional. Is that fair?
Yes. It generally was a hobby at first. It was something I enjoyed doing. I still enjoy doing. But then it became more of a full-time vocation, if you will, to actually seek out these locations, talk to people, interview people who have had experiences, and then actually go into the on-site investigations.
The fun part. All right, Dale, hold on. We'll be right back to you. Bottom of the hour, Coast to Coast AM, just getting started.
To talk with Art Bell on Coast to Coast AM from outside the U.S., first dial your access numbers to the USA. Then dial 1-800-893-0903. This is Coast to Coast AM from the Kingdom of Nye with Art Bell.
I would be the one. Dale Kaczmarek is my guest from Chicago. He heads a society that hunts for ghosts. We'll get back to him in a moment. By the way, I was errant. I'm supposed to be saying hello there to WLNI-FM in Madison Heights, Virginia, actually serving the Lynchburg, Virginia area. So, as the march toward FM talk radio continues, you will find them at 105.9 on the FM dial all over the Lynchburg area. Welcome to the program. Glad to have you. As the network just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. Just one quick comment. I'm getting a million faxes on this photograph. Dear Art, I've studied the photo of the ectoplasm, that's what he calls it. We'll ask about that. Seemingly emerging from your head. I've done it very carefully and thoroughly, disseminating and analyzing all of the many possibilities. And I've come to the only logical conclusion, and it is you're a spook. Aloha, Bob, from Hawaii. Yeah, thanks, Bob. Thanks. Maybe I've been dealing with this material too long. All right, back now to Chicago, or the Chicago area, and Dale Kaczmarek. Dale, welcome back.
Thank you.
I am getting your last name correct, am I not?
Kaczmarek.
Kaczmarek. Mm-hmm. Kaczmarek. Okay. Thank you. You have taken, let me begin with my own scary, frightening experience here. You've looked at that photograph on the website. What do you think?
Well, at first glance, and I've actually had a chance to get a copy off there and print it out on my color printer here. So I'm looking at it right now as I'm talking to you. Again, at first glance, it looks like you aged about 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, I know.
Everything in front of your headset is just generally white, and there is some actually coming off the actual forehead into, space here.
Yeah.
I have seen only maybe a handful of similar photographs. This could be a lot of different things. At first glance, it looks to me like some form of energy, maybe some form of ectoplasm, some sort of living energy.
Okay, let me stop you right there.
Sure.
What in the heck is ectoplasm? Someone said that in a fax. Ectoplasm, what is it?
Well, ectoplasm is very often encountered in seances where a psychic or a medium is giving a seance, and sometimes this substance, whether it be cloud-like material, seems to exude from the fingertips, sometimes from the head, sometimes from the other extremities. The thought behind what ectoplasm it really is living organic material. In other words, externalization of thought.
Externalization of thought.
Mm-hmm.
As in my thought.
As of anybody's thoughts. That's, one theory of what it could be. The other theory is maybe a little bit more far-fetched, that perhaps there was something in the studio that time, and it was just happened to be captured on that one single frame and nothing else, meaning an entity of some kind.
You heard the context in which the moment that it was taken is actually time-stamped on there, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about this end sequence with this gal I had interviewed, Harlot, this Satanist.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder so that leads me to wonder two things. I'm so in the dark about all this. In other words, did this come from my mind because of the subject material being discussed, or did this come from perhaps Harlot, for all I know, or somebody capable of projecting this sort of thing? I don't know. I'm so lost, Dale.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so lost.
It could be either or. I'm basically kind of grasping at straws right now, just having a few hours to look at this photograph. But it is very strange. I haven't actually seen the comparison photographs, but I've seen other photographs generated, through your website.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From the same camera, same angle, same lighting. Nothing changed. Nothing. And the only thing that I thought earlier in the day, did my watch reflect on it? But you'll see my watch there, and if the watch was reflecting, there would be a flash from that in the lens itself.
Correct.
And I doubt that it would... in fact, I should try some experiments with these CCD cameras, but I doubt that it would, even a reflection, I suppose, if I get a mirror and shine light into it at various angles, I could experiment, but it doesn't produce something like this.
Well, the thing about reflections, you must be reflecting off a reflective surface to get a reflection. Surely your hair is not a reflective subject.
No.
Not like a mirror or a glazed surface or something that has the ability to bounce back that light back to the camera or whatever's taking the picture. And obviously your hair is not made of that substance that would be able to bounce back that light, so I would effectively rule out reflections at this point.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is where my watch was at an angle. If you look at it, the lights are all above me. There's no angle to the camera from that watch. You can see a very light, brighter portion on the watch, but
right.
Not a reflection. So I am totally lost. I am totally dumbfounded, kind of scared, and really lost, and I'm glad you're on the air tonight, sort of. You've seen other photographs like this, though.
Yeah, similar. Mm-hmm. Usually they're some sort of strange, anomalous type mist that can be anywhere from white to gray to even blue. I have many examples on my website. Very often, this is the most often recorded type of phenomenon, some sort of strange mist or glow. Again, this may be a form of some sort of random energy. This may be something like a spirit that is trying to take form into more of a human appearance or an animal appearance, and it hasn't quite coalesced into that figure. Again, most of these photographs are usually taken when people don't see something, and something later shows up in the film when it gets developed. And it's not normally caused by, development flaws or something of this nature. I've had many of these photographs analyzed by Kodak in Rochester, New York. I work with photography people, specialists, and experts in the field,
right,
to kind of get their feel, because they develop film for a living all the time, and they know what would cause certain types of lights or mist or flaws to show up on these films.
Well, I know, for example, that people can get their camera strap in front of the lens.
Yes.
It's way out of focus. It shows up as kind of a stripe or a mist or something.
Exactly.
But here we've got a CCD camera, no double exposure possible, no camera strap, very fixed conditions where tens of thousands of similar photographs have been taken. Really, I am sorry I can't let it alone. I've been freaked out about it since yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'd like to know what it means. Do you think, there's no way to know, what am I asking you for? You can't know. Does it mean that there's a haunting going on? Does it mean that because I was dealing with this material, that there was some sort of synergy going on that caused it? I don't know. Anyway, I'm through talking about it.
It does look like some form of energy, but again, what actually it is, it's really kind of hard to say if it's caused by a living person or by a non-living entity of some kind. It does look like some form of cloudy, misty substance. But more than that, I really can't venture a guess at this point. I probably have to do a little bit more examining on it.
All right, I want to leave it alone anyway. Those who want to see it, it's on my website. And by the way, if you go to my website and scroll down to the guest area, you will see Dale Kazmarek's name. Kazmarek?
Kazmarek.
I'll get it. Kazmarek. And just click on his name, and you will go to his website, and there will be many examples of ghost photographs. And I guess, Dale, I would ask you to start off by sort of laying out to the audience what you've seen, what you know, maybe some of your better stories, whatever you've got. Let it unfold the way you want.
Okay, well, basically what I try to do when I get involved with a location is, number one thing is to rule out natural explanations. And we do go through regular interviews with people to find out what's going on from start to finish. We then bring in some scientific equipment that we do use. Now, the equipment that we do use actually has other purposes for it. In other words, you can't simply go out to a local hardware store or to a local department store and ask to buy ghost-busting equipment.
What do you use? Yeah, that's a good question. What kind of equipment?
We use devices that will register and pick up anomalous energies or deviations in electromagnetic fields. There is a theory that when there is a presence of some kind, that there may be a disturbance of some flux or disturbance in the electromagnetic field, and these equipment that we do have will pick up this sort of flux. We use a device called a tri-field meter. It's a device that was put together by Bill Lee of Alpha Labs out in Salt Lake City.
A tri-field meter?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Tri-field indicates it's looking at three things.
The meter can be set for different types of things, from electromagnetic to simply electrical energy. It will also pick up radio and microwave as well.
Okay.
And this device has safeguards built in so that whatever reading you're getting is, for the most part, not caused by power surges in the house, electrical wiring. In other words, there are filters and safeguards built in for this. For whatever reading you get, you then have to sort of analyze it as you're getting it to find out if there is another possible explanation for it. We've used this with great success in investigating sites because not only will it pick up electromagnetic disturbances, if you set this on simply the electrical setting and leave it in a room, it will react to any motion or any movement in that room, which then would give an audible and a visual signal on the device. We often use that along with voice-activated tape recorders at the same time. In other words, when there would be a movement in the room, it would then kick on the tape recorder. The tape recorder would begin to record the sounds of what's going on in that particular room.
All right. One at a time. The electromagnetic deviation that you look for, that makes absolute sense to me, and I understand that. The movement sensor. Now, A movement sensor, for example, I have them all around my home, and when people are within, 100 yards or 50 yards or whatever, they sense movement or heat of the body and automatically turn on floods. Mm-hmm. Is it the same kind of thing?
Well, basically what this device is actually picking up and capturing, it's energy in motion, in other words, kinetic energy. You can simply wave your hand in front of this device, and by breaking up the electrical energy in front of this device, it'll then give a signal.
Right.
This can be used in cases such as poltergeist cases where there are movements of objects that simply fly around from place to place.
Oh, yes.
So that device is the most often used piece of device that we do use.
Okay. That would indicate, certainly in poltergeist activity, where some physical thing is moving, I would understand that. But you would imagine that some sort of entity, like the one you might see in the picture of me there, would not set off anything unusual. In other words, I didn't see any substance. God, that's slightly wrong. There was some substance, but not in the same physical sense of your body and my body in front of a motion sensor. Mm-hmm. Now, I sure wish I had something to look at the electromagnetic state in here at that moment, but I didn't. What do you find in your investigations electromagnetically? How frequently do you see electromagnetic deviations when there's something going on?
Usually better than 70 or 80% of the time. If there's something particularly going on as far as a haunting, whether it be movements of objects, strange noises, smells, visual apparitions, or some sort of paranormal occurrences going on, this device will normally kind of almost lead you right to where the site is, where the in this building may be. It's like using a watchdog or a bloodhound to pick up a trail of something. This device will basically lead you to wherever the deviation is the strongest. Now, that deviation may fluctuate. From time to time, it may be a very high signal, it may be a low signal. It really depends on the conditions in the room, and even the strength of the ghost, if you will, that's giving off this signal.
All right. What about... Now, here's one thing I didn't feel last night. I didn't feel the much-described cold spot. There was no cold involved with this that I recall at all, none. And yet I hear so many people, when they talk about apparitions and ghosts, feeling or sensing some sort of very cold spot that can actually, I'm told, be measured with a thermometer. Yes?
We go one step further than that. We actually have what's called a Raytech non-contact infrared device that it looks like a plastic gun, basically. And basically what you do is you point this anywhere in the room, and it'll give you an instant reading, bouncing off whatever object or coldness or hot spot might be in the room, and give you an instantaneous reading rather than waiting for a thermometer to adjust to that cold spot, which may take several minutes.
Right.
This device will give you an instant reading, and you can literally take this around the room with the trigger held, and you can see the fluctuation of temperature from one room to another, or one area on that particular room to another, and again, pinpoint the cold spot if there, in fact, is one there.
What have you ever seen with that? How much of a differential have you ever seen in any given room?
To give you an example, I was doing some work in a cemetery, in an outdoor situation, which you would think would be the same temperature pretty much everywhere.
Or at least in any given localized area, sure.
Sure, within a few degrees. We were in a cemetery in downstate Decatur, Greenwood Cemetery, and I was getting readings of about, say, 80 or 82 degrees roughly on the ground level. When I picked this up approximately, I would say maybe 45 degrees off the ground, so maybe I'm guessing 10, 12, 15 feet off the ground, I got a differential of about 22 degrees.
22 degrees?
Yeah, so that's quite cold. Compared to the surrounding air down 10 to 12 feet further down.
Was this in association with any sort of thing that was going on?
Well, the area we were in was an area that was well known to have produced phenomena in the past and is currently continuing to produce some sort of phenomenon.
Even now?
Even now.
How does it manifest?
I believe that particular section, there were an area not too far away from there where ghost lights had been seen. All lights float around at night. These were iridescent type glowing objects that was to be seen out there. This was near a Civil War section of this particular cemetery. A portion of it had literally washed away at one time because it was located on a hill, and they had to sort of reinforce that area, so there were a lot of bodies that had been washed away too.
Oh boy.
It was very close here, very differential readings as far as temperature was concerned.
All right, Dale, hold tight. We will be right back. We're at the top of the hour. You've got a good rest, and I can use it too. This is Coast to Coast AM. Well, once again, here I am, and glad to be here too. Dale, now I'm going to get this right, or else Dale Kazmarek is my guest. He heads a society, actually gives tours in the Chicago area into haunted areas. And we're about to deal him a question that I think is the biggie, and that is, what is a ghost? So that coming up shortly. All right, I'm going to leave that photograph up on the website now for about another hour and a half, something like that. And after that, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn on the camera system so you start getting live photographs, and I'm going to isolate it to the camera that took that particular picture, and I'm going to sit here with my watch and anything else I can think to do and try to cause a reflection that might duplicate what I've got. That's a worthwhile experiment. I'll do that maybe in an hour and a half. Right now, and very quickly, before going back to Dale Kazmarek, I've got to get that down. A guest called, a private number here, who was on the other night, and he was talking, you'll recall, about the use of the frontal lobe area of our brain. We were discussing the fact that we don't use much more than about 10%, and Neil Slade was telling us ways that we might switch on the frontal lobe portion of our brain and the areas of higher intuitive abilities and psychic abilities. And he wanted to say a word very quickly about what this photograph might show. Neil, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
You've seen the photograph in question, I take it.
Right. I certainly don't want to step on the toes of your guest tonight, and I respect and welcome any opinion that he might have on this. But what I'd like to give you is the perspective from brain as to what I have a very, very strong belief in what we're looking at here. Just this evening, I looked at the photo.
Right.
And my amygdalas automatically clicked forward into my frontal lobes, and I instantly, logically, and intuitively knew what I was looking at. So that's what the process was in my brain. Okay. Your frontal lobes they're always on to a certain extent. Okay, and one of the things your frontal lobes do is they try to make sense of a perplexing information. They try to solve problems. And what you were dealing with that night was a mental threat, okay, which originates in your reptile brain. And on that evening, it was thoughts and fears of Satanism and all the questions that this woman harlot. It was very a disturbing topic to you. Now, in the same way that an old lady can lift a car off a person in an inhuman burst of strength in an emergency. We've all heard these stories.
Sure.
Your frontal lobes will occasionally try to release a burst of electrical chemical energy in a mental emergency, like this particular situation. Okay? It's sort of like when you put your hands out to protect yourself when you're being threatened.
Yeah.
Your brain does this electrochemically the same way. And this electromagnetic radiation, which this burst, which was produced by your frontal lobes, can be picked up by MRI and PET scans. And in this instance, because you have your camera on all the time, and since this was a particularly disturbing topic, the radiation from your frontal lobes was strong enough to cause an interference pattern in the video camera, which is also sensitive to electrical magnetic radiation. You know, if you put a magnet up to a television tuber, you can see the distortion in that.
Sure.
And if you look at the image, the disturbed image portion of it exactly occurs over that portion of your head which contains your frontal lobes.
So,
because that's the only part of your brain that produces enough psychic energy that can be picked up by a simple device like a video camera.
Well, what you have said makes sense. And for those who heard your program the other night, and you described the three main areas of the brain, that indeed was the area that you said produced exactly this kind of thing.
Yeah. And it doesn't occur in the back part of your brain. The threat, it originates and is computed in your reptile brain. So your reptile brain computes fear and negative thoughts. And that night you were using there was a lot of negative mental activity because of the topic you were discussing.
Absolutely.
Which is of course, you talk when you think of Satanism and stuff, well, you're going to be using your reptile brain to compute that information. And it was like, at a certain point, your frontal lobe said, enough, we need to protect ourselves from this. And there was this burst of frontal lobe activity, which you may not have solved your problem, but it was a protective measure.
It's like my frontal lobe started smoking.
That's exactly it. And like, in the same way that an X-ray is kind of fuzzy, if you ever look at an X-ray picture, they're not perfectly clear. The image produced and the radiation from your frontal lobes is not, it's not a really perfectly sharp image. It's more like heat radiation, electromagnetic radiation. And when I saw your picture, I mean, I didn't even have to think about what it was. It was just, click. And then I said,
there it was.
This is what it is.
All right, Neil, thanks a million. I really appreciate the input. Thank you.
Okay.
And take care. We will, of course, have you on again. That's Neil Slade, and he was talking to us about the brain. Back to Dale Kaczmarek. Haha, you see, I got it. In just one moment. Well, as a matter of fact, no. Let us do that right now. Dale Kaczmarek. See, I'm getting your name right now.
Yes.
My question to you is a real doozer, and it's not an easy answer. Dale, what is a ghost?
Well, the ghost, in my interpretation, is a disembodied spirit of a once living person. And there are many reasons that why that person's spirit has not, moved on to the spirit world where it belongs. There are many obstacles in its way. Normally it's due to an untimely death or something such as a murder or suicide, something that's the person's here one minute, gone the next. A perfect example of that would be the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze.
Mm-hmm.
He was mugged, stabbed, and actually killed by a mugger. His spirits, he thought he was his real body, was running after this perpetrator to try to capture him. When he came back, he saw his body being held by his fiancé, and he was a ghost. He was earthbound for a time. There are two main categories, though, that I like to break down ghosts into, and for lack of a better term, I call them smart ghosts and dumb ghosts. A dumb ghost would be my interpretation of it, what's called a residual haunting effect. In other words, a particularly tragic or traumatic event that has taken place, such as a murder or suicide, is then replayed over and over again, maybe at the same place, the same time, or maybe an anniversary date or something of that nature, like running a videotape in a loop over and over and over again. You see the same thing. There's no real intelligence behind this. It's simply like watching an old movie over and over again.
Do we have souls?
I believe we do.
All right. The eternally important question for me is whether some souls
actually are trapped here on Earth, or whether what we are observing is this endless tape loop replay, which is sort of a weak echo of the life that was, but not really the soul that's trapped endlessly, hellishly repeating whatever horrible end sequence occurred to it. This is, for me, a very, very important question, and for everybody.
Well, that's where the second category of the ghost comes in, the smart ghost. That's where you actually have interaction between the living and the person that has passed on, the deceased person. You may have a communication. You actually may be able to recognize that person as somebody you knew while he or she was alive. There may be some sort of interaction verbally, even sometimes in touching of the body. These, I like to call them visitation apparitions because they sometimes seem to come back to locations where they had a good time or they had happy memories. And a lot of these locations might be homes, for instance, that they had many happy memories. That's why many homes experience this type of haunting phenomenon. And I do believe that there are actual souls or spirits of these people that sometimes do not even wish to go to the next world because they're just frightened, or they just wish to hang on to physical life or memories, emotions, things that have happened to them in the past, rather than go on to something that's strange, unusual, and maybe frightening to them as well.
Speaking of passed on, I may have destroyed my own website with the amount of traffic up there. I can't bring it up. We've done that a lot lately. I notice it wouldn't even come up right now. So, folks, if we murdered the website again, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. The radio program, Dale, is growing faster than the website bandwidth is, and we're in a good place too. Anyway, so your answer really is it may be both.
Yes. It's very often, the most often reported type of visual apparition is simply the residual haunting, where there may be trace elements of this emotion or traumatic event that has sort of imprinted itself in the fabric of time and space. And for some reason, we don't understand the conditions or the physics behind it, that it simply replays itself over and over again, like winding a tape through a loop, a constant endless loop. There aren't that many, but there are many examples of where there may be actual interaction between spirits and living.
I have heard there is scientific research going on now, Dale, that says that windows, crystals, even inert things like wood, plastic, actually have memories. Have you been hearing about that?
Oh, yes, for quite a number of years. Most often what we seem to encounter in our studies is family heirlooms, antiques, personal belongings, things that had sentimental value to that person who was the owner of that person. Sometimes psychics can then, you've heard of the instance where a psychic can pick up an object and tell you everything about that person who held that object. Is called psychometry.
Absolutely. I know a person who does it.
That's pretty much the same thing as having a ghost basically attached itself to a personal heirloom, an antique, or even, for instance, the whole house.
Do you know Dannion Brinkley? No. Or know of him?
No, I don't.
No? He is a man who was struck by lightning. He was actually dead for 26 minutes, flatline. And when he came back, and he did come back, he had psychic abilities that you wouldn't believe. Now, that was an instant shock to his brain, and over the years since that lightning strike, they have faded. But he still has very, very strong psychic ability, and I had this man over to my home, I don't know, a few months ago, and without telling you what it was about, I'll tell you I handed him a piece of paper that had been written to me, and all he did was touch it. He described the person, he described their home, he described their car, he described what was around their home, and he did this absolutely, completely, accurately,
and it stood the hair on the back of my neck up. Now, that would seem to be the kind of psychic ability that is imparted to somebody through some sort of trauma, to the brain.
Mm-hmm.
But there are others who are natural and do it all their life. Is that correct?
Yes, there are some people who are actually born with their psychic ability that it doesn't seem to fade. It seems to actually get stronger as they get older. Sometimes they have to fine-tune it a bit, maybe going through, development classes of some kind to develop their psychic abilities or attend classes in that manner. But there are people that are actually born with the gift of discernment, the gift of psychometry, clairvoyance, ESP, much more so than random chance would dictate.
Do you have any hint what brings on this kind of person? Does it have to do, for example, with their parents? Is there any commonality in the lives of people who demonstrate this ability?
It does seem to have something to do with your ancestors. It may have something to do with heredity, because most often you do find entire families that are very psychic, while others don't tend to have that same experience. Whether it's in the genes, whether it's something in the chemical, biological, the brain itself that's passed on from one generation to the next through genes. I'm not sure, but it does seem to follow that pattern of being passed down from one generation to the next.
Perhaps you would be willing, obviously, in all the years you've been investigating all of this, you have no doubt run into some extremely interesting situations and stories. Pick one out and tell us.
Okay. The most unusual case that I had a chance to work on was one right here in Illinois, in a small town called Orland Hills, Illinois. It began quite innocently by getting a call from a psychic that I do work with on a number of occasions. She told me of this home where fires were breaking out, where there was a sulfur smell, sort of like rotten eggs that would build up in this location, that the fire department had been called numerous times to come out here to determine what was going on in this home. She wanted for me to get involved, and we were both invited to the Orland Hills Fire Department in a closed meeting room. And sitting in front of us were two state fire marshals that had over 60 years experience in combustible materials. There was a chief of police, an arson expert from the local fire department, and a few other people had been involved. What they had told us in this room, basically, and I'm not the kind of person that normally gets scared, but it did raise a few hairs in the back of my neck. Because they had been called to this home well over 60 different times within a 2 or 3 month period for just those occurrences. Fires breaking out, plugs that were plugged in to a microwave. Literally, the plug was melting in the wall. This sulfur smell would just permeate the entire building to the point where you'd have to get out of the house. It just was too nauseous.
That's strong.
That's strong. This home was only a few years old at the time. It was a brand new home in a brand new subdivision. They tried every possible natural way to find out what was going on, including calling in Commonwealth Edison, the electric company. They called in the gas company. They called in the builders. They called in people from all different areas to try to figure out what was going on, to see if there were power surges, subterranean gas that might have been causing this problem. Everything was negative. It was checking out to be perfectly normal.
All right. We are at the bottom of the hour, and we'll pick this up as we come back. Well, the webpage revived itself, so you can go up there and take a look at that photograph now. It is back. It was about a half hour there. I just couldn't get in. Probably net traffic. It's www.artbell.com, and it's the studio cam shot you're going to want to look at. Any analysis, opinion is welcome. I'm Art Bell, and this is Coast to Coast AM.
Now again, here's Art.
Once again, here I am, Dale Kaczmarek. See, I'm getting it down. Is with us from near Chicago. Dale investigates ghost stuff. In essence, I guess, if Guy doesn't like the name, I'll ask him. He's a ghostbuster. I wonder if he is. I wonder if he really is a ghostbuster. That's a good question. We'll ask it tomorrow. All right, once again, here's Dale Kaczmarek from Chicago, near Chicago. Dale, you were telling us a story. And I'm sure you have many, many to tell, but I do want to ask you this. You're an investigator. Are you also what you would consider to be a ghostbuster, one who goes in and rids places of these problems?
Well, in the strictest sense of the term, ghostbuster, I would probably say no, because if you compare that with what they did in the movie, no, I don't have their kind of equipment. We don't actually, try to grab them, carry them around, and put them in this storage bin here. What we attempt to do actually is to, first of all, thoroughly investigate the site, find out if there is something relevant to haunting or ghostly phenomenon going on in the premises, and then bring along or bring with us gifted people such as psychics or clairvoyants who can then make some form of communication with the ghost,
right?
And simply talk to the ghost, just like I'm talking to you, more or less, and convince that spirit that, in fact, it is dead, it doesn't belong here, and it would be best to just move on, just through its own accord, rather than use a exorcism or some sort of bizarre ritual to get that ghost out. We try to simply talk to the ghost in some way to let them know that they don't belong here.
Hey, buddy, you're dead. You should be moving
on.
I once had a fellow on the show who claimed, and this is as way out as you can get, that he had modified, you know what a bug zapper is?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He had several bug zappers arranged in some strange way that he did he claims he trapped a spirit. Now, you said yourself that there are electromagnetic anomalies that seem to occur frequently around manifestations, right?
That's correct. Uh-huh.
So, technically, one could imagine constructing a device that if you could cause a manifestation within it and turn on a strong electromagnetic field, if you're crazy enough to try this, you might actually, if the movement is electromagnetic, you might somehow manage to trap an entity. What do you think?
Well, if that was to be done, it probably would have to be a concentric circle. In other words, totally not just, it would have to be three-dimensional. In other words, the ghost would not be able to escape by going up, by going down.
Right.
It would have to be totally encompass this ghost or this being.
We could do that. I mean, I know enough about electronics to know that you could create a field, a very strong 360-degree magnetic field, and that's what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
And that you could activate it at the flip of a switch. Now, I don't know if it would be a good idea to try it. I'm just saying that technically it seems to me that if the mode of travel or manifestation is electromagnetic, that you might trap it in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
Would you do that kind of an experiment, or would you say that doesn't sound like such a good idea?
It would be a very interesting experiment to try. I would not rule that out, but again, there are several problems involved to begin with. Number one, you'd have to be able to locate the ghost, find out where the ghost is, and then get that field around that ghost. Number one, if it's invisible, you're not going to be able to see it. You might be able to track it with meters or other devices, but you might not be able to know exactly when this ghost is in this,
You could literally build a room,
mm-hmm.
a full room, that would, or even go to a room where there are frequent manifestations and set up such a trap.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder if it would really be a good idea. It's an interesting thing a concept to think about.
it surely would answer a lot of questions that we've had about spirits from all along. Number one, do they really exist, which I do believe they do. And being able to get one, again, you have to know the frequency of this operation, what frequency that they're working on. It's a lot of unanswered questions, but I think it's worth the scientific experimentation.
You worked in graveyards. Do spirits remain near their deteriorating physical bodies? That's a hard little thought.
Usually not. And that's what I often tell people, that if I give them a scenario like, if you died and came back as a ghost, where would you want to hang out?
Oh,
surely not in a graveyard.
Oh, no.
That's why I believe most graveyards are not haunted. I believe that most locations where ghosts are often seen or experienced are places that, again, that they recollect happy memories, where they had a good time. This can be a business, this can be a restaurant, this can be a bar. We even have haunted bowling alleys here in Chicago that are haunted.
Haunted bowling alleys?
Haunted bowling alleys.
Somebody who probably just missed a 300 game by one pin or something?
Could be.
That'd bring you back. Tell me about a haunted bowling alley. That's interesting.
Well, I can't give the actual name of the location out, but
please don't. I don't want to hurt anybody's business.
But I did work on a case once in a haunted bowling alley in the far southwest side of Chicago, where ashtrays would fly around, where maintenance workers working late at night claimed to have had encounters where they would hear mumbled voices inside the offices that were locked already for that evening. They would see the garbage can lids swing as though somebody had just plopped something in the garbage can. There's nobody in this building. The devices that waxed and oiled the lanes would turn themselves off and on midway through their track going through here. They were checked out. They were not shorts. The equipment was in perfect operating condition. This went on for a number of years, and then suddenly it just died out.
Suddenly just died out. Is that a frequent occurrence? In other words, do apparitions or ghosts or poltergeists or this kind of activity, does it suddenly frequently stop of its own?
Poltergeist activity is much more associated with a rapid deterioration and an abrupt stop, because you're dealing basically with, again, a person causing, for the most part, these objects to move around through their own psychokinesis or mind over matter. So when you're dealing with a real person, such as a poltergeist case, that person, once you just find out who is moving the objects around with their own power of their mind, sort of like a mental temper tantrum, you can get to that person. That person may simply need some counseling or some help or something. The phenomenon may stop very abruptly. In hauntings where you have an external force like a ghost or entity of some kind, these things can sometimes last for just a few weeks, sometimes years, and sometimes centuries. There are reports still to this date in England of Queen Anne's ghost, Queen Anne Boleyn's ghost, and the ghost of King Henry VIII, and other very colorful characters that apparently haunt their castle, which they once lived in back centuries ago.
All right. Well, it seems like in all the years that I've done interviews about ghosts, when people are killed and die suddenly, murdered, hit by a car when they weren't expecting it, suicides, that sort of thing, that seems to bring some sort of action too, or the greater likelihood of something lingering on Earth. And now, it seems to me, you know something, Dale? I don't know if there's a heaven and a hell. I rather imagine there is, but I can't think of anything that would be more hellish than to die and to remain here, seeing things progress and move on, and seeing the people you know and the places you're familiar with, and not being able to interact with them at all. That would be pretty hellish, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes. And that's, sometimes the ghost that is involved with this scenario doesn't know how to get to the other side, to cross over. Or sometimes they will themselves back simply because they don't want to leave. They want to stick around, and they want to, be helpful, be a part of the family, even though they really can't. And it's very saddening because they see their friends grow old and they die, and people It's like you said, a very hellish situation, and that's why I believe that places that are haunted, the spirits that are in these homes, businesses, restaurants, bowling alleys, whatever, are making the noise, are making the attempts to attract attention to the fact that they are there.
That they are there.
They need some sort of help. They're sort of reaching out the best way they can by scaring the people half to death sometimes to bring somebody in to finally show them the way out. I've noticed that very often in investigating homes where I can talk to people on the phone. You can hear things crashing in the background. You can hear the woman in hysterics saying, "Get over here, get over, something's going on."
Yep.
Get over there. It's just quiet. Because they got the person they wanted to get there, whether it be me or somebody else.
All right, another thing. Movie after movie after movie, Hollywood and ghosts, they get some of it right. Young, teenage girls seem to produce something around them. Maybe it's, the changes they're going through. Maybe it's their incredible emotional state. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is. I'm stabbing in the dark here. But for some reason, young teenage girls seem to manifest a lot of activity around them, poltergeist activity, that kind of thing. How come?
Well, we don't really know. There are a lot of possible explanations, and a lot of this goes back to the personality of the individual. If that person is very introverted, whether she be very self-centered, a lot of peer pressure, a very soft-spoken person, takes a lot of stuff in, doesn't let a lot of stuff come back out. It's like overcharging a battery, just charging and charging and charging. Eventually it's going to discharge, it's going to explode or something, and that's when you have this psychic explosion of poltergeist activity. Going back to that case I was talking about earlier, all these things happened surrounding a 14-year-old girl.
Oh, really?
And she had to be in the room, she had to be in the home for these things to happen. But she wasn't near to where these things happened. She was just in the home somewhere. When she was removed from the environment, they went to the grandmother's house to stay there for a while. The phenomenon stopped very abruptly in the home, but then continued at the grandmother's house. Small breakage of objects, things falling down, etc.
Was she in any way disturbed psychologically? Do you know?
We don't know that for a fact. We do know that this happened during a holy time around Easter. These things seem to culminate around times of very holiness, Easter, Christmas, etc.
Yep.
She was going to be coming into her first communion confession. Probably a lot of pressure put on her, and I think this kind of just was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and these things began happening. The baseline of this whole thing was they had to tear the house down completely. It was deemed unsafe to live in. People were given a settlement. They moved elsewhere because
there are laws, aren't there, in many states that if you have a haunted house, you must, in a sale, disclose that to the buyer, or you've not made a deal.
Nyack, New York, a perfect example of that. The woman had moved into a house, put on a deposit, later found out the house was inhabited by no more than 6 or 7 different ghosts.
Great.
Took it to court, and it was a landmark decision for the woman. She got her deposit back because the woman failed to disclose the fact that the house was well known to be haunted.
Well, now, I fail to understand how there can be a legal precedent for that. For somebody to get their money back because a place is haunted, you would think that legally, you would have to establish that the haunting is real and not the figment of somebody's imagination. And so you, in effect, then have a legal ruling that you're damn right, this place is haunted, this person didn't disclose it. I mean, that's a legal precedent. How do they, in court, how do they establish that?
I wish I knew. That was convincing enough for the judge to rule in the favor of the defendant in that case and get her out of that home and get her deposit back. So there must have been some sort of precedent that they put forth in front of the judge that convinced him to make that ruling.
That is remarkable, and that law, I think, is present in many states, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
We are going to get the lines open here shortly, and I'm going to allow people to ask you questions. What would you say,
you investigate this kind of thing. What for you was the scariest moment you've had?
Oh, first of all, I should probably say I don't get scared too often. But I will say one that still to this day leaves me kind of tingling. I was doing an investigation in a cemetery called in Southwest City, Missouri, called Evergreen Cemetery. There were reports of a strange, semi-transparent figure of a woman that would be seen there almost nightly.
Yeah.
I went there to investigate. I figured this had to be some form of optical illusion. Ghosts don't appear
right
at the same time. They're very spontaneous, very random. I got there, could not find anybody to actually show me the location. Went there myself, began looking around. This was about maybe 8 o'clock in the evening. A summer evening, the sun was still off for another half hour, 45 minutes or so. I began to see a strange mist beginning to form between a small tombstone and a tree. Wasn't ground fog, it wasn't smoke, it wasn't haze, it wasn't the humidity in the air. It began darting around rapidly between a tree and a tombstone. Some parts were more translucent, other parts were more visually opaque. I said, well, I must at least get this on film, see what I can maybe analyze it later.
Of course.
Snapped a picture of it, pulled the camera away from my eye, and the mist did not react or burn away or dissipate in a normal fashion as you think ground fog would. The best way to describe it is you pull a cork out of a bathtub. It just kind of spiraled down a little white tornado into the ground about 35 feet away from me, and my bottom jaw kind of hit my heel at that point.
It spiraled just sort of into the ground.
Exactly. When I got the film back, unfortunately, nothing showed up on the film as far as a mist, but the entire area where this mist would have been on the film was sort of bathed in a kind of an eerie blue light. It was very unusual for the film. It was the only picture on the film, on that roll of film, that had anything unusual on it. So
okay, but you saw this with your own eyes.
Exactly.
What, I mean, you stood there after you watched this thing swirl into the ground and felt what? I mean, what did you think you saw?
Well, I wasn't sure. It intrigued me and scared me both at the same time. I wanted to kind of sit down, rationalize. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I still don't know exactly what I saw. I guess in the strictest sense of the term, I guess it could be called a ghost because it was an unrecognizable form. There wasn't no shape to it. It wasn't like an apparition. It didn't have a form. It was just a strange collection of cloudy gas.
All right. Now there we go. So I can't help it now. The photograph that I've got up there, how was it different from that in substance?
It wasn't much different at all.
Really?
It was not much different at all.
Really?
It just might have been a larger mass, number one, and it was in motion. It was there, visible for, I would say, probably 30, 45 seconds.
Now, you've got to remember, this photograph, though of course, I didn't see it until I saw it in the photograph.
Right.
But that is a still photograph grabbed at that second of 1:26 and 21 seconds in the morning. It could have been in some kind of motion.
Exactly.
I have no way of knowing. But you're saying it was kind of like that.
Exactly. That's how ghost photographs are very often taken. You're basically what you're doing with a camera, whether it be a video camera, a 35 millimeter, an SX70, or whatever, is you're freezing a moment of time and space.
Right.
And then you can look at that moment that you just frozen in your hand, and whatever's there is there. It may have been there in a blink of an eye. 1 second it was gone, next second it was there.
Yeah.
Etc. It's just, that's how many of these photographs are taken, in a twinkling of an eye.
So really, a lot of your research has been in interpretation of these photographs.
Yeah, interpretation of photographs and evidence that we've collected during investigative work.
You've got a website, we've got a link. How many photographs are up on your website?
I believe the current total right now is 12 or 13 that I have. And these are some of the best ones. I have a large collection. I probably have about several hundred that I do have. But I've tried to put the best on for the very beginning. And most of these show either some form of human form, semi-transparent image, and there are some mists and other strange light formations that were captured with ordinary film.
Okay. When we get back, maybe you can describe some of those for us. And, not everybody has a computer, of course. So we'll describe some, and the others, they can go up to my website, jump over to yours, and take a look, because that's what we're going to be talking about. Dale Kaczmarek is my guest from an area near Chicago. He's not a ghost buster. He's a ghost investigator. I'm Art Bell, and this is Coast to Coast AM.